Welcome back, everyone. It is still time for more game changes. Actually, we just finished our first best of two. Astrocats looking clean, taking the 2-0 there, and they'll be up again. We'll have to see how good they still are. Camcom. It's been a fun start so far, but again, plenty of League of Legends left to play.
Plenty of League of Legends. We've still got 4 more games up for you today on the rest of the schedule. You were saying, Astrocats, Avril. Avril and Billyworth, we did just get to hear a little bit of an interview from Billyworth. She had some really nice words to say, but Avril, what was her final score? Like 14-1 or something ridiculous in that game too?
14-1-10 maybe?
Yep.
Something like that. It was a lot.
That was insane.
So yeah, I think certainly the player to watch, as we are going to have a look at the schedule. As we said, it is going to be Arcana's first time on the Rift today up against Astrocats, and we'll take a look at their lineup once again just to refresh your memory if you missed it at the top of show. Aquatic in top lane, Empy there in the jungle, Ayakura in mid, Ryle in bot, and then Shirley as their support. I know you're pretty familiar with this team here.
This is my team. If you're an Astrocats fan, then I'm an Arcana fan of, once again,
I just like cats.
Their coach being Summer, and again Gabrielle being their manager. This is a team of a little bit more new people here to the game changers. Ayukura and Ryle being their only 2 returning players.
Yep, definitely. It's all great to see newer faces here for game changes and to refresh your memory. We talked to Avril already. That's the bottom lane here for Astrocats. Muramina and Fiku definitely comboed nicely in that last game. Fairy Girl, one of the standout players, the highest rated player at this event, and looking like it in a lot of situations there in mid. Now, our interviewer heard from Billyworth, who had some lovely things to say, and interview was great. Gameplay honestly was better. Billyworth really tying the room together in so many of those plays. I mean, it happens a lot, right? Where in good teams, you have supports and junglers kind of like making your laners look good. There was a lot of that for Astrocats in that last series. And not to say the laners aren't good, because they are, but so many times in situations where it's like, oh, it's a little dicey, I'm not sure, Fiku or Billyworth, or in many cases both, were there to set up the play, make sure the snowball kept rolling and that the gold kept lining the pockets of the Astrocats, who I think can afford some pretty nice cat casa at the end of that series, because they made so much money in those first 2 games.
That is very true, and we have gotten to speak so much about the Astrocats, but I am very much excited to see Arcana taking the Rift for the first time here in Game 2. Like I said, we have some newer players, so we may have some newer strategies to show for us in our second best of 2. Astrocats have had as much time as we have to VOD review that previous game. What is it, like 5 to 10 minutes in between these games?
Yep.
Right? It is a very short time for these coaches to be informing players of, okay, we were just thinking about this other team, now we're going to start thinking about this team. What are the strategies that we have been planning for the second series of the day?
Yep, definitely excited to see kind of how it all works out. We do have a brief delay. As you can see, we have a small technical issue that will be resolved in just a moment, I am sure. Don't worry, it'll stay with us until it's all done. We're not hiding anything from you. I don't know how many times I've had to reiterate this across the course of my career. We are not hiding games from you, okay? They're coming. As soon as they're ready, we'll put them on the screen.
The Twitch chat is always like, oh my goodness, so why don't the casters start the game? We are the last people in the line that have the ability to start the game.
Yeah, and also the first people that would start the game if we could. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yes. We want the game to start as much as anybody else.
Exactly. One thing we can talk about, though, we did kind of see a mix of meta and comfort picks, I think, for a lot of these players. In some cases, they overlap, which is always nice, right? When your favorite champion happens to also be one of the best champions in the meta, it's a nice little win-win for you. And there is some things to watch out for on Arcana's side as well. You actually talk to their manager, Gab, and the one that sticks out to me is Ayakura's Akali, and that's obviously because I love mid lane. Akali is a champion that, for a while in different metas, has been very prevalent. Hasn't been as popular lately, but again, like many champions in recent patches, including the one we're playing on now, Akali has gotten a very small buff to try and get her back into the meta. And that's the kind of champion where, honestly, even if she's not meta, if you feel comfortable in the lane matchup or you just have mastery, you can just play Akali. Akali's just one of those champions that will get you out of almost any situation if you're competent on her. So that's what I'm hoping for. And I guess if I hope for that, we'll probably get it banned if the enemy team is worried about it.
I think Akali is also one of those champions where you have to be so careful when you do buff or nerf this champion, right? Where if you buff her just like 2 extra points than you are meant to, then this champion just has a 55% S plus tier. Like that's one of the, like Aurelia falls into that, like Fiora falls into that, like all of these very, very high button pushing mechanical type champions, right, where you give them a little bit too much damage and you take away a little bit too much mechanical skill, and all of a sudden anybody could play this, and that removes the barrier to entry that these types of champions are supposed to have. But I think Akali did get maybe enough of a buff. You said it's very small. I think it might just be enough to push her back into a meta enough position that we could be seeing her picked today for Ayukura. I would absolutely love to see her play that champion. I think it's very fun to watch, to cast, to play, anything. Just a fun champion.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about Azir a lot already, who's a champion that not only are a lot of these mid laners comfortable on, but is just getting playtime in the meta. Just generally strong mid laner right now, which much to my chagrin. Akali is certainly a champion you can play into that matchup as well. So lots of different things to find out. I think what's been super impressive while we're on mid lane, obviously we talked about Ferrygold's individual skill, but her willingness to play just an unbelievably wide range of champions. You took a bunch of notes for all these players, kind of like going through the solo queue and trying to figure out what they play. And I feel like Ferrygold's like champion list is like very long. Just looking down the column of this spreadsheet, it's almost nothing she can't play, it feels like.
And there are some times, right, when players who are the highest ranked in the tournament decide, okay, I'm the highest ranked player, everything has to be about me, I'm going to be picking the assassins, I'm going to be picking the carry champions, and we just saw Fairy Girl is not doing that. She is playing for the team, she is playing for the team comp, she is playing for general team damage or synergy that you need to be able to do, and that is what actually gets you the win, not putting the player on Katarina every single game, no matter what the team comp is, and just telling them to 1v9. That's usually not how the team works.
Yeah, it is not. It is League of Legends. At the end of the day, is a team game, which I know some people can struggle with sometimes.
It's not a team game.
Don't do that. We're watching teams play, but it is team games.
Solo queue games are not team games.
Okay, look, that's very different. Thankfully, we're here at Game Changers, where these teams have, had a month to get to know each other, a month to practice, and now have a month worth of games to play with managers, with coaches. And I think at least I can safely say these players are significantly better at League than I am. I won't speak for you, but I can tell you for now, they're definitely a lot better than me. One of the things I did notice, and this is something I'm sure everyone has noticed, Fairy Girl is taking counterpick in all of the drafts, so there is maybe something as a coach you can think about navigating. My guess is that it's because they're just trying to set up their bottom lane, and again, given how Avril and Billy played in the last series, I can't blame them for wanting to give them early priority, especially if Fairy Girl's champion pool is deep. You're in some ways happier to get counterpick if you're not too worried about like what meta mids you're leaving open. We did see Azir, even though Miss Timo had a great lane and I actually contributed a ton in the mid game, trying to get Serenity back into the game where they were very far behind. Fairy Girl clearly comfortable sitting back in lane and playing a more supportive champion as well. So you might be able to like find a weakness to potentially exploit there as you learn these teams' draft tendencies, but I have a feeling that it doesn't matter that much. And teams are clearly taking away meta mids from Fairy Girl as well, not wanting to give her something like LeBlanc, which we've seen banned every game so far.
Don't unban LeBlanc, I guess, and definitely don't unban that Swain is my theory for the drafting against Fairy Girl, but I am not a coach. And Fairy Girl as well, we're going to talk a little bit more about her, is she has such a deep champ pool that also unlocks a lot of different flex picks. She can flex picks with the jungle, she can flex picks with Mermaid in the top lane. She has a lot of similar champions that Billy Worth does in the bot lane as well. You could flex a Karma, you could flex, I don't know if you could flex a Janna, but there's Lux was definitely a very prevalent flex pick that we saw in the game 2 for last game. We really had no idea where that Karma Lux were going until we loaded on the Summoner's Rift, and that is something that Serenity also had to deal with.
Yeah, that's something coaches are also very happy with too. Anytime your players can comfortably flex picks, like, oh, I'm so smart, look at my drafting. And like, it's in a lot of ways because your players are enabling you. Obviously, there's a symbiosis there. It's everyone working together in harmony, but very valuable to be able to flex things around. Man, I have heard that the issue we did have is now resolved, so we're just kind of waiting for the draft to come through. And again, as soon as it's there, it will be on your screens. Don't you worry, we're not just showing you our lovely faces because we enjoy the airtime. We are waiting for the draft just as much as you are.
And once again, Arcana did get the coin flip side select for this game 1. And I said it earlier, everybody chose blue. So to nobody's surprise, Arcana did choose blue for this game 1. And game 2 will once again beat loser side selects that one. So whichever team loses this game will probably have blue next game.
That is exactly what happened in our last series, so I would be shocked if at least on day 1 that changes, or I guess week 1, it is the first day, but also the first week. We are going to be playing 4 weeks in a row, including the LAN final in LA on September 23rd. So again, mark off your calendars here for subsequent Saturdays a week from now.
I'll be here all
We'll
of
be
them.
back here. There you go. That's good news. You get to see
You're
Cam.
stuck with me. I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize. The people are very happy. I'm curious how Arcana wants to approach this game, of course, and we'll learn a lot more once we do get that draft loaded on in. I think you did learn enough things to try and figure out, and I think bottom lane is going to be my obvious question. I know Ryle has Twitch as a champion, which not the easiest champion to navigate into a draft, but if you can unlock Twitch, oh man, Twitch is absolutely disgusting if you set him up.
I think Twitch Lulu, Twitch Yumi, one of those like... I'm going to actually guess we're going to see an Enchanter versus Enchanter in this series.
Okay.
I think Billy Worth and Shirley are enough of Enchanter players that we may just start to ignore Engage. Even if Engage is the more of the meta, the players have spoken. The players would like to play Enchanters. We will probably see Enchanters. Avril as well clearly is comfortable enough to play solo or play with any other support that Billy Worth ends up throwing her way. I'm very excited to see what champion Avril picks. Very different from the Ezreal, probably. I don't think she's going to get Ezreal again.
Yeah, it's tough. Ezreal's one of those champions that, like, you don't really want to ban, but it's like sometimes you have to. You're like, this champion's too annoying, and
there's certain
this player's
players
too
that
good
you
at
just
it.
have to.
Yeah, and that might be already that that is the case. So I guess we'll find out when the draft does trickle on through. Players are getting into order and getting ready. They're close, but they're not there just yet. Once again, we'll bring it to you as soon as it's there. I don't know how many times I can.
We're
repeat
not
myself
keeping
on
it
that
from
one.
you, I promise.
I know. I honestly, like, the people that have been here for a little while, they know. Like, they've heard this spiel a few times. But let me tell you, you cannot reiterate this enough to the people at Twitch chat. You're wonderful, I'm sure, for the most part. But I know what you're like. I've been there before. I'm one of you sometimes, and I know you just need to be told. It's okay. We're not holding anything from you. We'll be
This
there.
is the first time I'm not one of you. So, you know. Hopefully
I mean,
loading.
If we wanted to, we could also be one of them while also doing this. We could have two
That
jobs.
would be expert level.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for expert level casting
We're like
slash Twitch
we're
chatter.
casting the game and in the same exact time like typing what we're saying into Twitch chat. That's what we should be doing, I think. That is
Maybe.
the next level of casting.
You get your own like positive emote spam going. You know,
Yes.
gas yourself up. Could be a good time. All right,
You're
here
strapped.
we go. See, I told you. As soon as it's ready to go. And now it's ready to go. Arcana on the blue side because they have picked Astrocats defaulting to the red. It does seem like a blue side kind of day so far. We'll see if that continues throughout the rest of the tournament. But Astrocats already shown a lot. Arcana do have the advantage of seeing some tape already from the first 2 games we played. So do we ban something specific or do we take something a little more general? That's kind of both. So I'm going to be taken off the table.
I am happy that we do not have a Zyrakan. We've had one Zyrakan so far, and that is all we need is the one. We saw it, and it is done. I just want to point out that both of these logos are super, super cool. So is Serenity's. All 3 of these logos are like super cool. I don't know if we've mentioned this yet, but all 3 of the teams got a certain amount of a budget to actually spend creating the marketing that they have for their teams, the colors, the logos, the Twitters, all of the marketing that you have seen from these 3 teams publicly has actually had a budget behind it that Riot provided. And that is something that the teams actually learned through this LCS Game Changers tournament was how to market things and how to use a budget to do that. And I think all 3 of them you've seen have done an excellent job.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I was like shocked when I learned it, but like the part of the program was having a mentor come in and kind of teach you about things. The teams themselves talked about what they wanted to do, what things they like, what they wanted their colors and budget to be. So it isn't like random that the names and logos like look as good as they do. There's actually quite a lot of thought and effort put into by the teams as a whole part of the program, which is really cool. Again, we are really trying to condense the LCS experience into as short amount of time as possible, from team creation, tryouts, to marketing, to practice, to tournament. Everything is happening in the space of about 3 months. And that's such a cool thing.
we're here for a third of the time that the teams are here.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy that we get to experience this amount of it, right? Like, we still get to learn a lot from what the teams have to show us through Summoner's Rift, but the teams will obviously learn a lot more, including this information that is very helpful for all of esports or any job that you might take in the professional world, such as marketing, such as budgeting, such as time management. All those important things in life is what has hopefully been taught to them in the past couple of months, as we are almost through our way through the first phase of bans. That is the words.
Almost there.
Almost
To
there.
recap for you, we talked about Xayah, Ziggs, Makai, the other two there. So Ziggs kind of an interesting ban, but not a bad one to take off the table. We do have the Akali banned away, so unfortunately I won't get my wish of Akali this game, but Astrocats understanding to take that one away from Ayakura. And then Kai'Sa, kind of the other big AD carry. You mentioned already, even though it's been, things wax and wane and change in League of Legends. Apparently this year, it's Xayah. Kai'Sa still really good, despite many changes over the course of the entire season. Viego going to be the last one there, taking that one away from MP.
I would love to see some of these hyper-scaling AD carries with some enchanters. I mentioned it a little bit before we saw the draft, but most of them are still available. We have the Kai'Sa and the Xayah banned, so number 1, number 2 AD carries are off the table. I think an Ezreal is very realistic. I think a Jinx might even be very realistic. Even a Twitch for Ryle would be very fun to watch, but that J4 will end up being a very comfortable, probably the number 1 comfort pick here for MP.
Yeah, definitely a champion we also went in the last series as well, so I think maybe floating around just generally is a powerful pick. And so if it's, like we said, if it's a meta pick and a good comfort pick for you already, that's kind of the kind of champion you want to pick nice and early here. Arcana are going to take that here. Still Rakan here for Billy Wirtz, so no enchanter on that side, unfortunately, but willing to take one half of the duo even with Xayah banned away. And I think Rakan is, a good enough champion in many different lanes. And again, not just the 2v2 that they've showed, but the map presence and pressure that Billy Wirtz was able to exert in the last series was one of the big standouts for Astrocats for me.
And we'll most likely be seeing Avril's lock in here on
Hey,
R2.
look, it's Ezreal.
And hey, look, it is in fact that Ezreal once again. Avril finishing the just previous game that we watched, 14, 1 and 10. Something along that line of KDA. Absolutely ridiculous, doubling the enemy's AD carry at the 15-minute mark. An absolutely insane play that we got to see from her last game, and she is looking to do the same exact thing this game. It is a little bit of a different support. I think it was Alistar last game. Oh,
it was Alistar Samira was the 2v2. They had Karma and Ezreal. And it could potentially be tricky. Twitch is not the easiest champion to lane with, but Ryle, as we know, very comfy, very experienced on this champion. So curious what they want to pair it up with, because Astrocats came to party in the 2v2. I can tell you that much from just watching the games I've seen already. They are willing to throw jungle and mid pressure down there. They are willing to pick aggressively in the 2v2 to try and get an advantage. And they're obviously willing to give them draft resources like this one as well. But on balance, all things must be equal, and there is going to be an enchanter on the other side. Again, 2v2 might get a little dicey, but if they can get through that lane and get some gold on Twitch Lulu is absolutely filthy in any sort of skirmish or team fight.
I predicted it, so I get to sound like I'm really smart now.
You're very smart.
Lulu is now my current main. I think I have the most mastery currently on Lulu, something like that. I don't know. It's a ridiculous amount of mastery that I have on this champion, so I am very excited to get to see Shirley play this alongside Ryle's comfort pick of the Twitch. And Poppy is a very popular meta pick, but not because herself as the champion is meta, it's because she's actually super meta, because she counters a lot of the other meta junglers. So J4 definitely being one of the main ones that she does counter, because of course she can cancel any dashes. J4 really relies heavily on the EQ dash, and if you can't do that, Poppy can win these 1v1s actually.
Yeah, Poppy's this really cool, like, defensive kind of jungler where she's really good at covering lane. She's really good at, like, protecting your carries. She kind of plays this interesting line between, like, tanky frontline and support in some ways. Obviously, you have to, like, get in there and be disruptive because you're still a frontliner as a jungler, and you are a pretty decent tank, but you absolutely can protect a champion like Ezra, who's already so hard to pin down, and stop any engages the J4 does want to have, which, given the comp we're seeing so far, again, it's only 3 champions, there's likely more engaged to come on the side of Arcana, but if it was just this J4 for whatever reason, Astrocats are looking over at this Poppy W and saying, yep, we got that covered.
I hope it's not only J4. I hope we have
it will not be.
Okay. It's gonna be a control mage mid lane just because right now they have 0 AP, but maybe they have some sort of engage top lane. I'm hoping Renekton has been banned away, so one of those engages has been removed. So, quick prediction on the top lane. Engage top laner. What's it gonna be?
Is Ornn an engaged top laner?
No.
I was going to say Ornn. That's upsetting.
I can't think of any.
It'll come to us. I usually think tank top lane when I think of engaged, but obviously...
Wukong.
Wukong would be good. Definitely a champion you can play here. Lots of top lane bans.
I should just look at her pool. Gnar, number 1. Yeah,
there
Gnar's
you
actually
go.
good here.
Look at that. Well, 4 top lane bans, so certainly the champions we mentioned are available, but a lot of the like split pushy champions banned away. Jax, Aatrox, and Gwen all kind of in that zone. Renekton definitely more standard, decent lane bully, and then just kind of is like a decent engage front laney kind of champion that absorbs a lot of damage and is very disruptive and annoying, especially if you get on top of a carry like Twitch. That leaves us with not that many options, so as you mentioned, Gnar is certainly one of them. Camille, the other one we missed.
Yep, Camille, that is another good one. And we talked about a little bit earlier where Camille is a very strong split pusher. Currently, Astrocats have not drafted for teamfight. There is no teamfight here. There is split push and there is poke is what this team comp is currently screaming to me. So if they can out split push and out poke the teamfight comp that Arcana's gone here so far, this could definitely be a 3-0 for the Astrocats.
Yeah, kind of nice to stay undefeated. Oh. That was not what I expected, but that is Kled as the counter pick of choice there for the top lane. Kled has a ton of good matchups in the 1v1, but I have a funny feeling might not be a 1v1 for very long if that's the case.
Yeah, you know, we did ask ourselves what engaged champions were we thinking of for the top lane. I can't tell you Kled was one of the ones that was in my brain, but Kled does fit all the things that we were talking about, and I'm hoping that we have some sort of extra AP damage. Yep, control mage for Ayukura in the mid lane. Ayukura is super, super comfortable on the Orianna, and you have the ball that can be thrown onto now Kled as well as J4, so you have a really fun ball delivery, team comp, wombo combo type style here that Arcana has drafted game 1, which is a very popular team comp that teams draft when they are uncomfortable with each other, because it is so simple to execute. You press all the buttons at the same time, you win the team fight, you win the game.
I also think, like, on draft, it is, you're at least in this game, you are putting a lot of stock in the power of Ryle's Twitch, and your Orianna is a kind of champion that can complement that as well. You know, it's not something you always think of, but you can, like, shield your AD carry as Orianna, and that's often pretty good if you have such a hyper carry like Twitch who's gotten to the stage where he's comfortable and dumping out damage. Last pick was Syndra. This might actually be the most played matchup in League of Legends history, Syndra vs Orianna. It is certainly the mid lane matchup I have seen the most. It is almost assuredly the most played mid lane matchup in competitive play. Whether it's the most played of all time, I don't know. I think bottom laners might have more to say about that. But certainly a matchup that the two mid lane mages will know very, very well. And Orianna got buffed recently, so nice to see her back in the mix. Let me tell you, a lot of champions got buffed, okay? We had 3 patches between the last time, at least I watched competitive, and this tournament.
I bet all of these champions on our screen have probably gotten buffed in the past 3 patches.
Probably true. Syndra, I'm not so sure about. Camille definitely has, and was already seeing some play, so not too surprised to see her here. The other thing is that I know Arcana's top laner is also a pretty big Camille player, so it kind of does some double dipping there by not only giving you a strong meta champion that Muramina has already showed a ton of prowess on, but also taking away a good champion as well. So lots of good choices here made by both teams. Kled's an absolute banger. So excited for this champion, which is good because we need some excitement, because honestly, if the game kind of plays out as the drafts are dictating, we're going to actually be in for a much more deliberately paced early game here. We had Astrocats kind of off to some flying starts in the first 2 games. This one, especially if Arcana are having things going to plan, J4 and Kled may be getting some things done early, but if Twitch is just staying even and farming gold, Ryle's going to be very happy.
I think we do have very mirrored lane matchups here, but very different team comps picked for both of these teams, where both of the junglers are kind of engaged, kind of tanky. Both of the mid laners, both control mages, both the bot laners looking to just farm and scale up, right? But I think Arcana has very clearly picked champions that do all that and also team fight, whereas the Astrocats have picked all of that. But they're looking much more for picks. They're looking much more for the mid-game power spikes. I think this is going to be a very decisive 3rd or 4th dragon type of game, where the first team to stack 2 dragons is going to have a pretty massive lead, even if there's not a gold lead to show it.
All right, well, let's see what happens as the teams venture onto the Rift. For Astrocats, it is their 3rd time on stream today for Arcana. Welcome. It is your first time here on the show. Lovely to have you. As we are going to see all of our teams now ready to go. And like I said, as far as lane matchups go, eyes on Kled, because you don't see Kled all that often. And this champion is often very aggressive, let's say. You don't play most Kled matchups by just chilling. The character matches the playstyle very well. That's a good bit of lore. Oh, Froggy.
I love Froggy.
I like the mystery duck that shows up every now and then.
Pat the Froggy, pat the Froggy.
Can we go back? Observers, can we pet the frog?
Can we pet the duck? Froggy!
We can't, but we can pet the frog. Oh, you can't see, but my mouse cursor was petting the frog. Oh! There's more than one.
Oh no.
Wait.
That's not a frog.
We're going on the animal tour now. Oh my goodness, I didn't know that was there.
Oh, it's a snail. It's so cute.
And then
okay,
lizard,
well, you know what?
There's a duck in there!
Game 1, the star matchup was the mid lane. Game 2 was the bot lane. Game 3, so far, from draft, we're assuming it's going to be top lane. Now, of course, they could be very different, but based on the champions, it's control mage versus control mage. It's scaling AD carry versus scaling AD carry. We would like to think the top lane is going to be where all the fighting will take place, and if you're just looking at level 1 as an isolated instant, that is what you may think.
Absolutely. Also, like, even though mid lane is kind of like a very classic control mage matchup, we'll learn a lot about how these players play in this kind of matchup. This is one of the most played matchups of all time, one of the most skill intensive, one that players have a ton of reps on, and we know Fairy Girl is a very competent individual player, and we haven't seen Ayakura on the screen yet, so we'll learn a lot about Ayakura's individual laning ability from this matchup in particular, and so far so good. Fairy Girl having to respect the early Q power and the auto attacks out of the Orianna as Aquatic already dismounted by Muramina.
Ayakura does have quite a bit of competitive experience under her belt as well, especially on these control team-orientated mid lane matchups where she was on Taco Gaming in PGCQ previously, and you remember Taco Gaming did very, very well in PGCQ, so excited to see our Ayakura back on Summoner's Rift in some more competitive League of Legends action. Top lane, not as much fighting as you may have thought. Very small CS lead right now for Aquatic. Meanwhile, MP down there in the bot lane, you did see that they walked over Ward, so not a whole lot that they can really do down there quite yet.
Yeah, early level 2 did have Ryle and Shirley playing a little more aggressive, but that level has been equalized, and I did like the attempt there from MP, just poking their head down into that lane, but decided to back away and not stay too long. Always nice to see junglers using their time efficiently as Fiku. Hello!
Hello,
in the top lane.
Welcome to the top lane. Aquatic does not as happy to see you possibly underneath her own tower, and it is still level 3, and you don't really have a wave to dive underneath the tower, so just getting the flash out from top laner is the best case scenarios you can do.
Yep, I think absolutely worth it to have the Hex Flash available for Fiku as well, so a trade that Poppy will happily take there, so has the ability to find some creative angles, as it is going to force the TP back as well for Aquatic, as we'll likely see Muramina take a base shortly. Also, 2v2 though, looking pretty good though for both sides. Playing aggressively as Billyworth is going to find the knock up there. Shirley in trouble. Ryle trying to fight back there, but Shirley's not going to have any health left. It's first blood once again for the Astrocats bot lane as Avril might be looking for 2, but Ryle is going to make him work for it.
So close. Ryle, the poison? Wow, okay. That is what you call perfectly calculated. By the bot lane of Astrocats here once again. MP may just be walking into a bush they may not be expecting here. Fiku should be perfectly fine. But yeah, down there at the bot lane, it was just a little bit mispositioning from Shirley. And also, the fact that Ryle did start Cole on the Twitch does kind of show that she does not really want to be fighting in these early levels. She knows that we're playing to scale. We are not playing to fight. And if she had bought the same longsword start that Avril had, that may have been a different 2v2, Shirley, with the roams here in the mid lane. Only here for pressure, though.
Just checking in, you know, seeing how it's going. Making sure Ayakura is okay. There's a level of, like, moral support as an enchanter you give to your team sometimes. So nice to see that from the roam there mid out of Shirley. Also, you know, the matchup obviously pretty different as far as what they want in the bot lane 2v2. And that's probably indicated, if nothing else, by the summoner spells. It is Ignite for Billyworth, which Marika says she didn't have to use to make sure that play in the bottom side worked, but Shirley with the heal that is currently on cooldown, going to have some of that cut away in any sort of 2v2. As Ryle's CS looking good, but that first kill is going to give some extra gold once again to Avril. As MP now here in the mid lane, but Fairy Girl with a nice little bit of movement, dodging out of the way.
Also important to note that ward that Fairy Girl has in the very center of the mid lane does look like a useless ward, unless you know exactly what the ward is doing, right? It shows just that little extra few pixels of vision that you otherwise would have been missing, and that ward may have just saved Fairy Girl's life from that gank in the mid lane, even if it doesn't really look like it, just based on the mini-map. Nice knock-up landing there onto Fiku, but maybe that might be a fight that you really want to take. Surely take it down with that ignite, but just to be able to walk away to safety. Fiku still trying to chase her down. Yordle versus Yordle, and the Yordle that is Lulu may just end up winning with her friends. That last auto not gonna connect. Surely able to walk it out safely.
Nicely timed shield there by Shirley. Had the cooldowns ready to go because that chase was so long. And it is a nice little kill there as Ryle already trying to open things up again, staying proactive on the Twitch, despite the fact that Twitch does need to farm up, does need to get gold. At least get to item number 1 before you really start opening up and making those roam plays that Twitch, as a very unique AD carry, can do. Still trying to apply pressure early on, joining the team for that play near mid lane and getting some gold out of the deal as well. As it continues, knock up there, gonna land. The slow is gonna hit onto Avril. They're gonna try and get this kill here, but Avril turns it around. It's Billyworth able to get the kill credit, and it is a trade at the end of the day, but still gold very worth getting here. It's Fiku now gonna try and make it too, but the stun doesn't quite latch onto the wall as Poppy charges in. Shirley's here as well, and Billyworth's gonna have to back away.
1-for-1 between the two AD carries there, but the kills did not go to the AD carries. They went to the other two members of the 2v2. Ryle having as much fun, I guess, as you can in this bot lane, right? It has been quite a difficult time, as we do get a replay on the past 2v2.
Yeah, MP, actually 3 kills now, so watch kind of how they got a couple of them here. Trying to bait on in. Avril dodging deftly there as Ryle tries to flash away, and Avril knows just has to commit everything, try and get the trade, does get it. Unfortunately, as you said, it doesn't get the kill. Support and jungle picking it all up as the utility roles manage to get the kills instead of the carries. But hey, you'll take the gold that you can get, especially in that situation. And Arcana ahead in gold. 700 or so, not too much, but potentially getting to a point where they could open up a little bit more in this early game. Something that Astrocats themselves did very well in their first series so far in this event.
Absolutely. In the first series, I think we saw Astrocats ahead in gold most of the time in both of the games, so now they are starting to find themselves just a little bit behind. But again, anything within 500 gold by their team, right, is not really a gold lead, especially when that is split, remember, between all 5 members. So we are still looking at a very even early game. You do have a 3-0 Jarvan. MP sitting there with all 3 of their kills all on themselves. So if you're fighting anyone right now without MP and you're on Arcana, then you are definitely doing something wrong. That first dragon started up by Fiku, but MP without any lane prio, mid laner just recalled, bot lane just got back to lane. Not a whole lot you can really do about this dragon, other than a potential steal, but I don't think that's safe.
Does have the mid laner here, actually. Might be something brewing, but dragon does go over.
Does go over. I mean, MP still wants to fight it. They didn't get the dragon, but they still want the kills. Ryle, absolutely insane. Got in every single auto attack you possibly could and gifted one of those kills over to Ayukura as well. I mean, you dropped the dragon, but you got 2 extra kills on the bot lane. Now Ryle gets a free minion wave all to himself.
Yeah, it looked like maybe just going to give it up, but had everyone ready to go, and this is just Twitch on display. MP diving on in. Doesn't even have ulti here as the Jarvan. Look at the range that Twitch shot gives you there. Avril got shot from like a screen away. And that's 2 kills cleaned up cleanly. I believe mid lane and bottom lane got them there for Arcana. So gold going in the right places. And all of a sudden, we said, you know, not up that much gold. 5 to 700 doesn't feel too bad. Call it 2,000. That's a very costly dragon for Astrocats to pick up.
Yes, but that is at least 1 dragon that they do get to pick up. I mentioned earlier in this game, I think Soul is going to be a massive win condition for either team because they are so scaling heavy on the bot sides, right? Where these dragons might not mean a whole lot early, but you get enough of them and they will end up meaning something. MP knows that they are probably on Rift Herald, and as much as they want to contest it, not a whole lot you can really do once again. So will not be a similar play to that dragon. Instead, the Astrocats have taken the first 2 objectives, sort of, maybe sort of uncontested.
Uncontested, but certainly not free.
Fight after.
I think is the way we can phrase that one. Rift Herald, actually, pretty clean. Not really much of a contest. Didn't cost them too much to get it. Just a bit of time and energy from the jungler and one other, which, you know, that's a pretty standard investment for something like a Rift Herald. Definitely a pretty expensive dragon to get for yourself, especially given where the gold went, but not Nothing to write home about just yet here. It's an advantage for Arcana, but not a big one just yet. Very curious to see what Arcana want to do now, because we saw from Astrocats when they had a lead in their last series, knew exactly what to do, where to rotate their jungler, where to put their gold. Especially with not a one carry comp, but with a singular threat like Twitch doing this to people. You have a very obvious point of the map where you want to attack. That's without a completed item, by the way.
Yes.
There's not even blade done. I'm very scared for the Astrocats here.
That was auto attacks.
We do have a 2v1 brewing here on the top side of the rift. Oh goodness, Fiku finds the angle, flash into the wall we go, and Aquatic still getting it, cutting out of the way, but no, you are correct, does not live indeed. Muramina flashing in for the final Q.
But the fighting is not over. Really good flash away from the shockwave there by Fairy Girl. Find a little bit as long as you can in the Cataclysm. But of course, you can't do a whole lot melee range 1v1 against a Jarvan, right? And you gotta talk about this top lane dive, right? This is what I was talking about last game, where you slow push into this massive 3-wave crash. You bring your jungler up, you bring the Rift Herald up, you bring all your friends up, and you are denying a massive amount of CS and experience right now to Aquatic. It is going to be extremely difficult to try and come back in this game from the CS deficit that she's probably going to have to live with now, as we do get a replay of that previous fight. I think definitely the star of the show there was Fiku's flash, like 90 degrees, right, to Aquatic. That is how you could get the knock up into the wall, and that is how you could get the kill. I don't think if you flashed there, you probably wouldn't have got the kill.
I believe so. It's very good. Yeah, just face checks there. And the tail is told as Ryle also lining up here onto Avril. Avril getting punished on the Ezreal this game around. Ryle's just under the tower. That might be enough. The poison ticking down. It's so close. Twitch almost has the damage. And that looked like 11 HP on my screen.
Health pot keeps Avril alive just barely. Was also forced to commit both the heal and the flash, so that definitely had an impact on it, of course, as well. But Ryle has just been a menace on the spot side. Shirley doesn't even need to be here. She's been roaming around the map. Ryle just on her own has been able to 1v1, even 1v2 sometimes, the bot lane of the Astrocats.
Yeah, as long as you can click A on the Twitch, you can just walk away. I don't think there's much else that Lulu needs to contribute. So much extra added damage there with those empowered autos. And Blade of the Ruin King is done, by the way. That's one of the reasons that looked so scary for Avril. Does live and does have Triforce, so things are going okay as far as gold and as far as items go. It's just the pressure that this Twitch is starting to apply. The threat of Ryle opening up an even bigger gold lead here by roaming around on this Twitch, finding kills, finding tower plates, finding a tower kill. It's only 1,000 gold right now. It's pretty close between the two teams, but there is going to be a moment fairly soon, perhaps in 20 seconds, when that dragon is up, where this game is potentially going to swing one way or the other. And Arcana know exactly what to do. They know they can play around this Twitch here.
Absolutely, and they have maintained this gold lead. It hasn't been growing as much as we've seen Astrocats, but Arcana still trying to grow it as much as they can. You got a little bit of an AD carry 1v1 here, and as we've seen it quite a few times, Ryle takes it home every single time. At this point, Avril just simply cannot 1v1. Maybe 1v2 if you get that outplay done correctly, but Ryle is in such a commanding position in the AD carry versus AD carry.
I mean, Avril did almost everything right from what I can recall of that exchange, and it just didn't matter. Like, Twitch has too much DPS at this stage, too much good 1v1 potential, and Avril, with all the outplays in the world, is not going to get away from a Twitch in that position. Dragon does go over to Arcana. First tower, though, does go over to the Astrocats, so gold sticking close, but Arcana are about to open up the map a bit more. This might be bullying, actually.
This is cyberbullying on my screen right now, man. Somebody help Avril. Oh my gosh. There's nothing you can do. What can you do there except sit there and hug your wolves and be sad?
Hold them tight, because it's going to keep happening here. This is a player in a team that understand exactly what Twitch is supposed to be doing at this stage of the game. And the scariest thing is, like, Ryle doesn't even have that much gold. All of the early gold went to the jungler and the mid laner. Now there's a little shutdown on Ryle. So if they can get this little rat, they'll be able to get some extra gold out of it. But this is clearly a player that understands Twitch very well. A team perhaps that's played quite a lot of it in the limited practice they have had. But whether it's Ryle understanding and calling or the team understanding how to play around it, they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing in this spot. And Twitch is just punishing people that are standing in places they shouldn't be. And it's places that you normally are safe to stand in. Twitch just changes the texture of game so much that Ryle, who understands it innately as a talented Twitch player, is punishing Astrocats time and time again.
Yeah, Ryle has absolutely been spamming Twitch. I know in solo queue, but I would also probably guess, like you were saying, in scrims as well. This is not a champion that you can traditionally see very much in high elo competitive play, right? So you have to be very, very comfortable on this champion to be able to pull it out in these high elo games, right? So the fact that you can see Ryle sitting here 2, 1, and 5, the bork completed very early, and that is the true power spike of this champion, right? You complete that bork, and all of a sudden you can 1v1 anybody on Summoner's Rift. It is 1 dragon apiece. The gold lead has mostly closed, but still slightly in the favor of Arcana at this point. But the second Rift Herald, if it goes to Astrocats, would be 2 Rift Heralds in a row in their favor here.
Looks like it's going to be MP starting that up, but Fiku, I thought was looking for an ambitious player on this turret, but instead it's just going to do a bit of counter jungling here. That should mean the Herald is going to go over. Muramina sniffing it out, suspects there is something there. I believe a Bloom Trinket did spot the jungler there, but Aquatic's going to rotate down, going to make sure that MP has enough support to take down this Herald, and it is going to go over to them. As Astrocats done a good job of keeping it even, but it does again feel like there's a tension in the game that could swing either way if something goes horribly wrong. For now, Astrocats understanding that they do have to play a little bit on the back foot, play a bit reactive, especially when they don't see the Twitch on the map, and Arcana are going to use that freshly found Rift Herald to charge down the mid lane and open up more space for themselves.
That is the first adder turret taken now by Arcana. You gotta watch out for that Twitch damage. Poor Avril. Force flash heal away, but that might not be the only person flash healing away. Cataclysm burned for Muramina's flash as well. You gotta watch out though. Billy Worth and Fairy Gold might not be in the right position. Fairy Girl is gonna be forced flash over the wall. Billy Worth not forced to use the same, has that W, but I mean, at this point, the wallets are starting to come online here.
Yeah, it's funny because it's not even that big a goal difference. It's just like Arcana just clearly understand their position and are just finding every little way to push your advantage. I don't know how the teams feel, right? Like one of the things we get as spectators of the game is we get exact numbers on what's happening in the game, but the players have to use, you know, their game sense, their experience, and their knowledge to kind of estimate where we might be up to. Arcana is certainly playing like a team that have more gold than they look like a team that's further ahead than they currently are in the game, but I think that means they just understand like where they are in the game right now, what they can do, and where they should be applying pressure. And just keep watching all the different side lanes, especially because Astrocats are going to have to make sure players are playing very defensively when you can't see this Twitch. And one of the very frustrating things about Twitch, especially as the map opens up, is that you just can't see him. Literally can't see him when he hits Q and then starts running at you. I mean, Fairy Girl here, you think you're safe, but this is just not a spot you can be in right now. The dive not coming in just yet. The wave isn't there. Fairy Girl effectively clearing that out is going to actually stop MP from coming on in, and there is some pressure from Muramina in the top lane, so whether that was coincidence or intention, very nicely done for Fairy Girl to keep herself farming here in the bottom side and let Muramina build up some pressure.
The cross map plays here from Astrocats. They know at this point that they cannot take the even foot fights anymore, right? They probably don't know that they are still only 1,000 gold down. It probably feels like a lot more going up against people, or 3 people with bounties, right? You press tab, you see 3 bounties to 0, and you think you're down a lot of gold, but in reality, it's not actually that much. This first Ocean Dragon of the game has just spawned on the Rift, and I mean, I don't see a world that Astrocats can really contest it, right? Maybe there is some sort of sneaky steal angle for Fiku, but she's not even in range to get to it. She went to the ground instead. I thought she was going to walk here and try to steal something magical, but nope. It's just going to be Dragon number 2 here for Arcana. So this is Dragon 3, remember. Dragon number 4 could be a pretty big team fight here in about 5 minutes. You got to watch out for those item power spikes.
Yeah, we might delay it a little because we have split the Dragons here, but Arcana are going to be the team ahead in the race as far as counting up to 4 goes with that soul and that objective. In the meantime, Astrocats is trying to get some tower damage done. Ryle is here in mid lane, but going to now reveal herself and take out this minion wave. Has done a very good job of keeping this turret up. In some ways, it's funny. Normally when you see mid towers stay up for this long, it's because there's a control mage that's like constantly shoving waves back and protecting the tower. This time it's the threat of the Twitch that's preventing people from wanting to walk too far ahead, and then Ryle just clears the waves and we kind of go back and forth here. So impressive to see the defense of this tower. It does mean that there's this big pivot point for Arcana to play around that just like it's one of those things that's kind of hard to quantify until you're in the game and you realize you have so little space. And then stuff like this starts happening. You lose your tower because the pressure and the minions have been too much, and Avril basically has to burn all the Mobies as soon as the Twitch opens up. Here's the counter play though. Billy Worth trying to get in. Ryle taking some damage. Twitch is getting low. True Drop barrages in, but the Twitch is living for now. Finally goes down as the dive is successful. Verigo on the other side is going to get dove, but the Astrocats, not a whole lot of health to play with on the back end of this fight. Aquatic still fighting. Billy Worth going to dash away, but Fiku now in trouble. MP looking to find the slow. The damage is there from the J4, and Ayakura is going to clean up another.
I mean, Arcana are looking for these team fights. Remember, they have drafted the team fight comp. If at any moment, like right there, there is a 5v5, even if they weren't behind or ahead even in gold, they are still much more comfortable with the champions in that certain scenario. So they are going 2 for 3 still. That could have been a 1 for 4, and it is just disastrous for Astrocats. You didn't need to take that team fight. There's no objectives to fight over here. You lost your inner turret. It's gone. But they still decided to take the fight.
I mean, they feel like they see the angle to kill the Twitch. They do, in fact, have that angle. Can't blame them for wanting to take the fight, but there is more than one carry on this team. Ryle actually lives for so long with all this enchanter stuff, with the wild growth, with the shields out of Lulu. Finally, they get the kill, but they actually have just taken too much damage from that point that it doesn't matter. And Ferrigal gets caught up on the wrong end of the battle line and goes down. And then Kled, tanky enough to start things off, and it's cleanup duty here for J4 and Oriana, which they make very short work of the next few out of the Astrocats. Not a full ace, but certainly more than enough damage done as Avril forced to shift away from the end of that fight. That is going to be gold in the right direction for Arcana. Now up 2,000 gold, which again, not that much gold, but my goodness does it feel scary when these bounties are still here. And now Ryle has 2.5 items. We talked about the block for a while. That was kind of a 1v1 thing. With the team out in the Hurricane, now everyone is going to get killed when Twitch pops the LT.
Absolutely, and I mean, the best case scenario there for Astrocats, you did kind of mention, is to pick off that Twitch. If they can pick off Ryle and then go into a 5v4, that is when their team comp can actually truly shine with the champions that they have selected. Look for Baron Steel now, though. It's close, but not going to be close enough. All 5 members of Arcana will walk away with the Baron buff unless somebody dies. Shirley does have the wild growth to keep herself alive, but the Hextech ultimatum is not going to actually be enough to take her back down. The Cataclysm just trying to keep Arcana in the safety net that they have, but Astrocats continuing to chase them into their enemy jungle. MP will not let Fairy Girl walk away alive. Ayukura trying to walk back to her team, but it's just so far away. You see the TP coming in from Aquatic as well, and now Astrocats, they were on the front foot. Now they're trying to run back away. Billy Worth, last member standing. Not a whole lot you can really do as the Soul of Arcana. Just jump around, fly around, and in the end, it's the ace for Arcana plus the Baron.
Yeah, a little lizard drifting there in the jungle for Aquatic, and able to seal up the last kill onto Billy Worth. Again, like, heart's in the right place here. Baron gets very close. Two-shot Prod almost steals it with a nice, cool, under pressure smite out of MP. Does secure the Baron. And Astrocats think, okay, let's try and get a kill here, because, like, surely we can at least get Shirley. Unfortunately, that is not true for Muramina, and then they overcommit to this play. Ryle is the target. They know they have to get the kill. They dive onto her, trying to make sure the Twitch goes down. Twitch, again, lives for a long time. Everybody flashes forward, and you think, great, we finally killed the Twitch. What do we do next? And the answer, unfortunately, is die slowly to the rest of Arcana, because you just have no way to get out. You dove, like, almost to their mid lane outer turret, all the way into their jungle. And Kled, Oriana, and Jarvan just walk at you and eventually pick you off one by one.
I mean, again, their heart was in the right place. You definitely summarized it up really well with that. You got to pick off that Twitch, but it's the execution of picking off that Twitch that is obviously more important this next Dragon. Again, Dragon number 4. They still have the Baron. Arcana still has Baron on, I think, 4 members. I'm pretty sure it's everybody except for Ryle, right? So not a whole lot you can really do to contest this Dragon after losing one fight after another fight after another fight. 3-1 now on these Dragons. And with the Baron buff as well for another 51 seconds. Arcana has a lot of time now to try and finish off this inner turret line.
Yeah, the game was kind of pretty close in gold for a long while, even though Arcana felt like the team that had the initiative. But this gold lead is just opening up a big hole in Astrocats' pockets as money's starting to fall out. Coins are jingling on the floor. It's an absolute tragedy. Money dropping all over Summoner's Rift. And Arcana are going to just try and put a big dent in some of these side lanes. Take out at least one inhibitor, likely the gold here. Could get 2. And if things go really well, game might just end on the spot in this first little Baron buff here. But we'll see how the defense looks for the Astrocats. Fairy Gold, I think, doing the right thing. Has TP, just needs to push something and try and get some gold traded back, because you do not have many plays available to you at this stage of the game. You're going to have to be pretty patient to find a window back in, unless Ryle makes a big mistake on the Twitch in any sort of team fight. And even then, I think there's enough tools to save the Twitch if Ryle decides to go super aggro mode.
It is extremely difficult at this point to fight back against that 7 or 6,000 even, almost 7,000 gold lead that Arcana has accrued for themselves. They did trade those inner turrets in the bot lane, traded for the top lane though. Fairy Girl didn't even have to commit teleport for that. She was actually just in the right place in the right time. She could smell that they were going for bot lane, and she will walk herself up to the top lane and trade out those turrets. And remember, those inner turrets do give a lot of extra bonus local gold, so Fairy Girl is walking around with quite a hefty wallet in her pocket. Obviously, not as much as a 7-0 Orianna, but as much as you could possibly have being 0-3-1.
Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out, even though we've talked a lot about Twitch, because Ryle's Twitch is not only a pick she's super known for, but has also informed a lot of how the early game has played out. It's certainly worth acknowledging how well MP and Ayakura have been playing this game.
Yeah.
Haven't died yet, combining for 13, 0, and 14, I think, if I'm doing math correctly. And Deathcap just got finished for the Orianna. So, yeah, we talked about it. You have to commit for the Twitch, because Twitch is going to end any team fight he's able to free fire in. Unfortunately, you have more fed people that cause you trouble there. As Billyworth in a bit of trouble. Avril actually able to get the kill onto Ryle, but they trade one back there. That was a true shot barrage that got the kill, so maybe they can find an angle here. Oh, that buffer was nasty! Out of MP, comes back in through the Poppy ulti to continue the run of play. And now Arcana gonna keep on chasing Aquatic, finds the bear trap on a rope, latches Fiku into the clutches of the rest of the squad, and MP's losing the 1v1 to Fairy Girl, but just needs to buy a little bit more time for Orianna to click some buttons and get another kill, as Ayakura goes legendary in this game.
Legendary on the Orianna mid lane. This is not a DPS champion, remember. This is a supportive champion. You put your ball onto other people, and then you press shockwave, and that is how you're supposed to set up team fights. Not get 8 kills and 0 deaths. That is how, I guess Ayakura is able to play this champion, alright? Just a little bit too far forward once again from the Astrocats. This is how they were trying to play last game when they were the ones with the gold lead. They are not used to being the ones with the gold deficit. You have to play the game very, very differently, and that is definitely something that they can look forward to in future games, where you can't always be the ones with the gold lead, of course, as they're now 6,000 gold down. We have Baron number 2. Yep, Baron number 2 spawning in 20 seconds here, and I mean, Arcana, they can just play with their food at this point, right? They don't need to take the Baron. They can just bait it out, wait for Astrocats to walk into them, take the fight, and probably take the Baron on top of that as well.
Yeah, Fiku in trouble. Gonna flash out of the way. You do need to keep your jungler alive here if you want to try and contest for this Baron.
That's true.
And back we go. Setup is here. Ryle shooting away, and we're going to get the attempt here. I think it's going to be a tough one, but Astrocats are going to commit to try and make something happen. Baron at half health.
Baron at 50% HP. Astrocats, they're not even looking for the Baron anymore. They see 2 members potentially caught out on the top side, and that is where they're actually focusing their energy on, trying to steal that with the Ezreal, but just not quite enough against the smite of MP, of course. So once again, the 5-man strong Baron for Arcana. They've got another 3 minutes for this Baron to continue to try and break this inhibitor chart line, which has still remained pretty much untouched.
I will say, Avril's timing on two-shot barrages for the 2 Barons we've seen, impeccable. Unfortunately,
Yes.
Smite a little bit better there for MP in that situation, and no vision in either case. Avril just understanding instinctually when to maybe throw the skill shot out, and does at least give it a go, but it is Baron secured once again for Arcana, who are going to be looking to knock down some inhibs, as you mentioned. Didn't get to do that last time. Do have a dragon available. It is the big one finally spawning, and so they are actually going to stay on the map for a touch longer to make sure this goes down. And kind of like the Baron, there is not going to be a contest for this one either.
That is the free Ocean Soul, actually. Like you said, for Arcana picked up now. They have Baron for, I believe, 2 more minutes now. They have used the first minute on just claiming their Ocean Soul, which is definitely not a waste of time. I mean, that Ocean Soul is going to be hugely impactful for keeping them on the map for longer periods of time. But once again, this inhibitor line has still remained very much untouched. This is going to be the hurdle that Arcana need to overcome if they want to win this game number 1.
It's a very funny thing to watch. Just Twitch in a front line with stealth, waiting to kind of kick off the team fight, or hoping someone's maybe caught in transition walking between turrets. Unfortunately, there is no one home here in the bottom half of the map for Astrocats, so that's going to be an easy in-hit turret taken, and they are going to get this one as well. Looks like the wraparound is going to be the play here for Billyword and Fiku. Can they find this flank? Inhibitor goes down, and I think the play is over as Ryle opens up once again. Twitch ulti is going absolutely bananas in the backline, and
Wow.
it is MP now godlike, taking out Fairy Girl. And oh my goodness, Ayakura, as Muramina teleports in, takes half the health off of that Camille as Poppy tries to kick a few people out of the base. Get off my swamp, but not this time. It is just going to be the mid lane busted through, and the tower's going down as well. Looks like it's going to be the first Nexus for Arcana all tournament long. They will take down the as now undefeated Astrocats and give themselves a win to kick off their Game Changers campaign.
Undefeated no longer are the Astrocats. Rise up for the Arcana squad. These were the two teams that you and I had favorites for. My favorite being Arcana, yours being Astrocats. Arcana takes the win in the game 1 of our best of 2, number 2 for today.
Yeah, definitely a different game there. I think pretty close early game, even though there was so much success from Ayakura and MP in the early stages of the game. And bottom lane got a lot of action early. There's a ton of back and forth and a lot of attention thrown there. I think, like, at least the first 15 minutes of that game, despite the, again, initiative clearly being on the side of Arcana, the gold lead did not reflect that at all. The game really didn't get out of hand until, like, post 20 minutes when that first Baron kind of went down. And then it kind of fell to pieces in a lot of ways. But that's a game I think Astrocats can pretty comfortably look at and be like, oh, these were the couple places we maybe should have made some different decisions. A lot of the engages might look a bit silly when you're diving very deep to try and kill a Twitch, but at some point the feeling on the team might be like, hey, we literally can't win a team fight if we don't kill this Twitch. We're already behind, we have to throw everything at them. And they did, and unfortunately they got punished. So I think one of those things where maybe you can make a more measured decision in game as you get more experience as a team, but like the understanding of what you have to be doing is correct. It's just that Arcana's counterplay was there basically every time.
Absolutely. And remember, everyone here is here to learn, right? So this is the really, really perfect scenario for Astrocats to, obviously not right now after the series, go back, look at this game, look at all of the team fights that they took. Do we take this team fight? Is our positioning correct? Are the correct champions here that need to be here for this team fight? That is a really good game to go back and VOD review, and you can improve off that a lot for their 2 matchups coming at you next week. And I want to talk a little bit more about this mid lane matchup. Everything was so explosive around the mid lane, but we didn't get to talk about mid lane a whole lot. We kept saying this is such a skill expressive matchup, but we never got to talk about the skill that they actually expressed. So the Orianna versus Syndra was kind of the star matchup. I mean, we said it was top lane. We were just wrong. I'm sorry. It was not top lane. The jungle mid matchup truly did show up strong in this game. I think Ayakura on the Orianna showed up really, really well. She was clearly constantly putting pressure, putting Fairy Girl under her tower, and was roaming around the map all at the same time, right? And that is how you're supposed to play this matchup. This is not a 1v1 indicative matchup. This is a push the enemy under your turret and go help your team type of matchup. And Ayakura definitely showed up very well on that.
Yeah, very impressive. It kind of reflects in the scorelines they generated as well, right? I don't think they died as a duo in that entire game, even though the mid lane matchup itself. The funny thing about Orianna Syndra is that it is really skill intensive, and there's lots of interesting things you can talk about, lots of back and forth, lots of little micro decisions. And at a high level, typically what that means is that the 1v1 is even and nothing happens. Even though a lot happened to get to that point, it's when you look at it, it doesn't seem like a lot happened, but a lot had to happen to get there. To your point, absolutely, it was way more about the mid game and the players combining and the pressure that Ayakura was able to put out to leave her lane to be able to go and team up with MP and get things done. And MP was, I mean, great showing for them. First pick Jarvan, was everywhere on the map, made full use of the toolkit that Jarvan has available to him as a champion, and kind of just made sure everything went the way it was supposed to go. Yes, there was lots of fun with the Twitch, and Ryle looked really good on it, and initiated a lot of the early game stuff that happened, but that game really felt like it was won by mid-jungle teaming up, like you were saying. And not sure what the change is going to be for Astrocats, but I did hear that we are actually going to be on the same sides, interestingly enough. So it is not all blue side all the time today. It's going to be Astrocats sticking on the red side. Again, losing team gets to choose. Astrocats lost, and they decided they weren't unhappy with how things got navigated in draft and with side selection. So they're happy with that part of the game, at least.
I honestly like their draft. I just think that they didn't utilize the tools that they picked for themselves to draft as well as they could have actually on Summoner's Rift. They drafted a pick comp with a Camille top lane to split push and do some picking as well, obviously. But I didn't see as much picking and as much split pushing as the win conditions for this team really did have. And on the complete flip side, of course, Arcana drafted the teamfight comp, and that was all the game turned out to be, right? Arcana wanted the teamfights. They took every single teamfight that they could, and they played to their team comp strategies. They played to the team comp's strengths, and that is how you could take games I would say from champ select. Not really from champ select, because obviously, like, it takes skill to use the strengths that you picked in champ select.
Yeah, two of the oldest champions in the league, still good, as it turns out. Jarvan and Orianna, still a combination we can rely on, even now in 2023. As you can see there, score reflected. Arcana up 1-0 here in this game. So we'll have our second game up as soon as it's ready. Once again, we're not holding anything. Once the players are done with ready for their draft, I should say, we'll have it on screen for you. We can talk about it once again, as we do know the team will be on the same size, but there is some time between games for players to chat, for coaches talk to their teams, and they can figure out what they maybe want to change here for this next game. I'm curious. It's such an interesting game, right? Because I feel like both teams wanted to put their bottom lanes in comfortable positions, and it felt like, even though it was Twitch plus Enchanter, which doesn't feel like the most meta thing to be doing in bot lane right now, let's say, clearly something that Arcana are very comfortable doing. And we know from the little drafts we've seen that Astrocats are willing to play around the bottom lane and give them resources and draft early. But it felt like the game was more about mid-jungle. And so do we try and get Ferrigal and the jungler more picks together? Or do we just say, you know what, we'll ignore that, we're fine, we can just pick something else and invest even more into trying to shut down Enchanter plus Twitch? Because I don't think you maybe want to give Rao Twitch again, because I think the comfort level's a bit too high. But if that's the style they want to play, right, carry plus Enchanter, which you can do with lots of different champions, maybe you find a different way to attack that. Because I think you have to pick one. You can't be like, you can't split the difference and try and soften both jungle and bot lane. You probably have to dedicate some sort of your draft to like, okay, we really didn't like that. Let's take away like, Lulu, Jana, and Soda. Or something like that.
It was definitely a very difficult game for both of the mid jungle and the bot lane, right? Like, so they similarly impacted each other, but just in the 2v2s isolated as well, it was just equally as difficult, right? We know that Avril and Billyworth are very capable of showing up. We saw them very much shown up in the Series 1, so hopefully we can see a similar style that they had in Series 1 in the Game 2 for Series 2 today. Avril was on the same champion, Ezreal. Turns out you can't go 14-0 every single time on Ezreal. There were sometimes different times.
I mean, I think it is a champion you can pick often, but I think if the other team is willing to just play scaling into you, and you're the kind of team that wants to be aggressive early in the 2v2, which is my general read from watching them play the limited games I've seen, I feel like you want to pick something else. Not because Ezreal's bad, but because if the enemy team just like, okay, cool, nice lane, we'll go farm. You probably don't want to just let them farm. No, it's not. It's definitely not a good mirror. That's a great way to put it.
Oh, hopefully we are about ready for a draft here. Once again, we are not holding the draft against you. It's not us.
It's never us.
I have clicked the start draft button. I have clicked my R key. That is what I have done.
So as a reminder, before we get into the game, what we're doing here, this is Game Changers here. Little initiative run by Riot and the LCS. We've run this for a bunch of different games. This is for League of Legends, obviously. I hope you've noticed that at this point in the day. But this is an event that is trying to showcase the talented players of marginalized genders and help them tell their story. This program is a step towards more women and marginalized genders participating in competitive play, which is a great thing. And not even just that, it's also empowering other roles, not just the players. It's empowering coaches and managers by giving them the resources and tools to succeed. In fact, we've even gone as far as helping their teams understand their brand building and build out their Twitter and give them budget for graphics. Like, it's I think the way we've said it is we're trying to condense the full LCS experience into the shortest amount of time possible. So really cool to see this opportunity for all these players. And so far, games have been a treat to watch. Very excited for this fourth one coming up.
absolutely. If you had told me that these teams had only been practicing together for 1.5 months, I would probably not believe you, right? These synergies, especially between the bot laners and the mid jungles, have looked really, really strong. Ayukura specifically has been on the roam as the mid laner, which, I mean, that's hard to do when you don't have a lot of scrum experience with your specific team here. As once again, we are now officially into draft, and we are on the same exact sides, our first red side selection of the tournament for Astrocats.
Yeah, game at number 4 of the day and the final game for the Astrocats for this week. We'll see if they can keep it positive with 3-1 or if they are going to drop to 2-2 as Arcana looking to be the team that can perhaps stay undefeated. A luxury you don't get very often in like 3-team best of 2 round robin, which is basically what this format is. But we'll see just how many wins they can keep on the board. As Xayah once again going to get banned. As you mentioned, teams have not swapped sides, which has been something I didn't expect. But Twitch is certainly a difference that Astrocats are going to adjust to. Decided that the cats, despite being cats, do not want to play against the rats.
Nope. We will be taking away that Twitch, I would expect, for a majority of the rest of the tournament now. Yeah. Ryle got it for her one time and the one time only. Maybe we'll get to see it in LA. I would love to see Ryle on Twitch in LA, but may be difficult to pull off if it is even left unbanned. As Ziggs is actually going to be banned away from, I would assume, Avril? It's kind of the flex right between Fairy Girl and Avril, still that mid jungle flex, but at this point in the game, I would probably assume it's more directed towards Avril.
Yeah, me too. I was gonna say, even though Ziggs has obviously been a mid laner for a lot of his like lifetime as a champion, certainly in more recent memory has been basically a bot laner in 80% of games. I guess unfortunately the LCS bucks that trend a while because we have APA in our league, who loves to play Ziggs in the mid lane. Lordlisk actually going to get banned here, so taking away one of the premier. It's true, it's not unfortunate. APA is great. Hope he's watching.
APA is going to Worlds.
That's true, he is. Well, who's going to Game Changer Worlds? Well, actually, all these teams are going to Game Changers Worlds. Damn.
That's true.
That was that's a deep cut. If you know where that joke came from, you're a real one. I'll just put that out there. As Maokai going to be banned away once again. I think Arcana actually, sticking to the exact same bans, which I guess is not a bad thing. You won the last game, and you're on the same side, so in theory, your draft strategy shouldn't have to change. I wonder if they want to give Jarvan over again. That's maybe the big question here, because Arcana snapped it off in the last game and not going to get the opportunity to do so here.
Rakan. It's going to be Rakan B1. Nope. Darn it. Wrong way. Rakan B1, as I have also just been informed that we have been pronouncing Arcana. Arcana wrong this entire time.
Arcana.
I'm very sorry, Arcana. It is not Arcana. It is Arcana. So Arcana now with the B1 of Sejuani. I don't know if this is still a 3-way flex. I remember this being the 3-way flex mid-jungle top. I sure hope it's not the 3-way flex anymore, but I think it probably still maybe can be played jungle mid.
We'll have to see. Again, the assumption is for MP, but we'll have to find out. Certainly, Arcana may be showing that they want to prioritize their jungler if this is the case, right? It was J4 in the last draft, once again giving that resource over and first picking a Freljord champion. Going to be matched here by Ashe, here for Avril. Could be for Billyworth, I suppose, as well. Can be flex to support.
Oh no. Avril had one hard game and now they put her on Ashe duty. Every single AD carry I've ever played with, maybe Avril is different. They call it Ashe duty because that is what you do. You press R, you press E, and that is about as much skill expression as the champion really does get to get. Maybe Avril can play it differently. Maybe you can actually get some auto attacks in, which is what AD carries prefer to do. But it is definitely a much more of a utility supportive pick, a lot less DPS than pretty much every single other AD carry that we've seen picked so far in Game Changers.
Graves, though, is the pick on the other side, so if that's the jungle, which is the pretty safe assumption, very interesting jungle matchup there if it does end up being against the Sejuani. So Fiku taking a pretty different approach, has been on basically ganking or engaged junglers for the entire series, going to be on Graves to farm this time instead. Renekton does make it through nice and early. Looks like Aquatic's going to not wait till the very end of the draft to take a pick, going to take it nice and early here.
Renekton as, I guess, a blind pick, right, for Aquatic here. So saving, once again, that counter pick for, I would assume, Ryle or Ayukura. Yep, that Rakan will be ended up locked in. I was assuming that was going to be a B1. They surprised me a little bit with that Sejuani, but it will still end up being that Rakan for Shirley. And you did mention Ashe could be flexed between Avril and Billyworth. I would assume it goes more towards Avril. Billyworth is much more of an enchanter player. Engage, less so, and definitely marksman, even less so.
That's fair. Interesting to see the order that this all came in, because you maybe could have got Rakan still, but I think Astrocats are actually just changing strategy entirely. Figu's going to be on a farming jungler, maybe have a bit more agency, especially if she can get gold and be aggressive, but they are, I guess, trying to fight team fight with team fight. They look at the last game and they're like, you know what? I didn't like having no engage tools and the ability to 5v5, so we're going to pick up the engage tools and 5v5 you.
Absolutely, and this is also Fiku's, I would say, most comfortable champion. Again, we asked all the players what their most comfortable champion is, what they would love to play here today in a perfect world, and Fiku's champion was, in fact, Graves. So she is probably looking at her keyboard very happily right now, saying, I'm going to play some good Graves here today in game number 2. You definitely do not want to go 2-0 and then 0-2 on your very first day. Best case now, 1-1. That's what Astrocats are playing for now.
Still gets you a point if you manage to get the draw. That is how best of 2s work. I'm assuming it's the standardized point format, but should be. If you go 2-0, you get 3 points. If you go 1-1, you get 1. If you go 0-2, you get 0. And of course, we'll total up the records and place in best of 3s on the 23rd, live from LA. Should be fun, but we're a long way away from that, I have to tell you. That's true. Cam will be there. Come hang out.
There.
Go see the games. You can do it. It could be all you.
I'm going to see him.
You are going to see them. But I'm saying, people out there, if you're in LA, you can come down. I believe you'll be able to get tickets. I feel like there's either someone very happy or very mad at me for just saying that. But keep your eyes peeled for more details.
I've heard that there are spectators. I don't know if that means tickets or not.
That's true. I'm not sure. Well, you know what? When we have more details, we'll pass them on to you. Much like the draft, we don't control what happens here. We just cast the games in front of us. Akali, Silas, the 2 bans there for the Astrocats here in phase 2. Swain, once again, getting taken out of the pool, and Karma, actually the pick of choice there, taking it away from both Billy and, of course, Fairy Girl, as that is a pretty classic flex there on that pick.
Yep, the Swain taken away from Fairy Girl again. She is looking to sometime during this tournament play that Swain. She's very excited for that Swain, but neither Arcana nor Arcana or Serenity have allowed her to have that Swain left unbanned. Oh, this is a throwback.
Right.
This is the 2015, 2016 matchup, something like that, in the bot lane. Now, as a Zyra main, I used to be a Zyra main, number 1 counter to Zyra in bot lane is Misfortune. Ryle does have plenty of games on Misfortune to actually be able to pick her. Maybe.
It's funny, because the first time that was a counter pick, the support played that champion. But obviously, probably not the best support anymore, the old MF.
Nope.
But it's possible. That's a Yasuo, which makes me very happy.
Ryle playing Yasuo?
It's funny that you're a Zyra main. I am currently still, and have been for a very long time, a Yasuo main.
No.
Very curious to see where that goes, but I'm guessing mid lane. But if it's bot lane, I'm kind of here for it. I don't know how I feel about Rakan Yasuo, but Rakan can help enable Yasuo genuinely. That's a good thing that we can look at here. And what on earth is the last pick then if this was it? Okay, it is Orianna, so it is Yasuo bottom lane.
Okay, I was gonna hold my thought on this until they blocked in their mid laner, and oh no. I think Rakan Yasuo is probably a very, very difficult bot lane to play into the extremely long range, poke heavy, probably double arcane common bot lane of the Ashe Zyra. I mean, you have so much CC, you land either of the ultimates, the other one will probably land every single time as well, and then that's just a free kill. Unless it's Windwold, right? Like, that is how this matchup usually goes, especially past level 6. Ryle and Shirley are going to have to play super, super aggro pre-level 6. That is when the melee bot lane gets to shine. And then past level 6, you get hit by either Avril or Billyworth's ults, and the lane is just too hard.
Yeah, I'm very curious how this works out. Because you have some level of, like, I want to scale here, but you're gonna get bullied for so much of this early laning phase. So, and Ryle and Shirley did not play like calmly in their 2v2 despite being on the scaling end of the matchup. They definitely played pretty aggro. So I assume, like, you know, you might be able to change the champions, but the players' styles are a little harder to shift. We'll see how that one works out. Also, mid lane, a new champion here for Ferrigo. I think has played a unique champion every single game so far. Cassio, which is not a great 1v1 matchup, but Cassio herself is a real good champion if she gets things going. She kind of scales like with about as many, with the longer the game goes and how much gold she gets, because she has an extra item slot that other champions don't get to. And if Cassio is free hitting you, my goodness, you take so much damage.
I think they were probably looking at two different mid laners here on the R5. It was either going to be Cassio or Lysandra is my guess. Lysandra being a little bit more supportive, a little bit more utility, but you look at this team comp, you have so much utility already built into it. You needed someone with that high AP damage threat that Cassio has. You have 4 melee champions. That is very rare. 4 melee champions on the Arcana squad here, and Lysandra and Cassio, that's why I said Lysandra and Cassio. They both really excel in the mostly melee enemy team comps, and Cassio is definitely the one that has a little bit less utility but higher DPS threat here for game number 2.
Yeah, good note there as well on the number of melees, because Cassio W is going to get a ton of value in this game if it is placed correctly. That ability is low-key one of the best in the game. I think grounding is one of those things that it's not on that many champions, but the champions that do have it when they use it correctly, oh man, it's nuts. We saw Poppy in the last game there for Fiku. No CC this time for the Graves on Fiku, going to be taking more of a carry there as Ryle surfs on out to the bottom lane, playing Yasuo bot lane.
More importantly, is there a duck? Where's the duck? There's no duck. The game has been lost. I'm sorry. GG.
All right. Could we
duck.
make
Everybody
the duck,
lost.
please?
Is that a... That's a bird? What bird
is
is
a bird.
that? I've never seen that bird
What
before.
else we got? What else we got? Oh, yep.
I have seen the deer. Yes.
Dutifully watching over bot lane.
We love the animal
Little nature
montage that
tutorials
we
going
get.
on here. Oh, another one.
More deer? I don't know if that's a deer. I don't know.
Oh, that's Oriana. Oh, wait, hang on.
That's definitely not a deer. That's a crocodile.
See some butterflies, maybe? Oh, what is this?
Excellent level 1 casting here by, as you can see on your screen page, to chime in my self-cam call.
Absolutely. Oh, is there a level 1? Sorry, I'm enthralled by this this wildlife tour we're doing around Runeterra. Thankfully, it looks like the team's just spread out and ordered some early jungle camps, and it's going to be same side stuff for the junglers. So again, potential movement for the bottom side. I imagine MP is going to continue their run of wanting to be nice and present in a lot of these lanes, and you know that seeing this double melee lane with Zyra and Ashe, Avril and Billyworth are going to play as far forward as they can get away with for as long as they can in this lane.
Avril has also opted for the Lethal Tempo as instead of the Arcane Comet.
Here in mid lane, though, it is going to be a bit of trading back and forth. Ferrigo wanting to be a bit more aggressive this go around if she can. And then I did predict Ornn in an earlier game, but Ornn is here from Muramina. Very different style of champion this go around. Has been playing, you know, way more split pushes, a few more carries, wanting to kind of take the 1v1 a little more aggressively. This time around, it is Ornn. So again, clearly playing more for the team and wanting to play a little bit more engaged. Aquatic in the top side. Continuing, though, to do Renekton things, and typically the Renekton thing is to be a bully for as long as you can get away with. And Ayakura continuing to navigate nicely here on the Oriana. Again, this is a matchup that classically
Yay!
favors the Ori, as we can welcome back briefly absent Camcom.
I'm so sorry. I forgot that my microphone sometimes likes to disconnect itself. I forgot it does that.
Oh, that's quite the unique feature.
It is. It's a feature, not a bug. Always remember that. I was trying to talk about how Avril took Lethal Tempo instead of an Arcane Comet. I don't know at what point it cut me off, but that was my point.
And as we can see, getting some usage out of it right now. It is Comet, though, for Billy. Again, wanting to play very aggressively in this 2v2. And I'm not sure what it's supposed to look like, but so far, not looking like a great time for Ryle and Shirley here in the 2v2, which is exactly what I expected in the early game. Again, Yasuo can combine nicely with other champions to sometimes get things going, but that's usually when he's level 6 and not, you know, getting pushed on getting pushed in a 2v2 in this kind of situation, and you cannot do anything in this 3v3. You actually might get dove here.
I think you definitely can. Windwall already bursting down. Double knock-up lands, though. And the exhaust on both members lands first blood for MP. Ayuka as well walking her way down to the bot lane. Billy Worth does not have a lot of mana to actually fight back. Rao flashing forward for that final hit for the kill for herself. MP as well just able to walk away safely. One more auto will not connect. Shirley lands the blue buff for herself, and it's a 3-0 now in the favor of Arcana. Mermina as well, not having an easy time up here at the top lane. I think she will be able to walk out safely, but definitely not a fun time up there.
Absolutely not, as what a thrill ride in bottom lane. 1,500 gold ahead for Arcana, or Arcana. As we're going to watch this one again, I think we're about to see a really sick spin here from Rao's Yasuo, a little EQ that I think caught 2 people. But again, this looks miserable. You have no health, the Q lands in, the Windwall's there, and then Rakan just goes. Ryle starts spinning. Does get the spin, but honestly, the damage was done. Between the Rakan, the Yasuo, and the Sejuani just being there for that setup, more than enough to get the kill, and then some adorable things happen here. Ayakura roams down from mid, Ryle flashes in to secure the kill that Ayakura helped set up, and now MP's once again staying active on the map here in top lane, setting up with Renekton. It's melee plus Sejuani. It's an absolute cult classic. Knockup's there, stun is there, Muramina has got no flash and no hope, and now no life left. It is Aquatic that picks up a kill.
And it is Aquatic picking up now the 4-0 for Arcana. All 4 of those kills split up very evenly between everyone except for Ayuka, who does have 2 assists for herself there. I mean, the bot lane for Astrocats, once again, they picked a bot lane that you're supposed to win early with. This is a lane that you definitely play for level 6, and before that is a little harder, but level 6 is the true power spike. You need to not die before level 6 because Yasuo can definitely win wall and then snowball his way to victory, if that is the case here for Ryle. I also didn't notice that Ryle actually opted for the exhaust and Shirley for the ignite there as well. So those are kind of hinting that they are going to be playing this lane very aggressive, and very aggressive that they are.
Yeah, just I think understanding what opportunities they can take and doing a really nice job of, again, combining with the jungler. MP is fast becoming a player to watch in this tournament as Ryle just getting aggressive. Knows the jungler's here, finds 2, the Windwall's there, Avril can't do anything at all, and these 2 immobile champions are very easy to pick off.
I mean, you just miss position on one wave and you are dead every time as this bot lane, right? That is the true weakness. You have so much poke, you have so much damage, but you don't have a lot of kill threat. And unless you get that wave crash perfectly every single time, it is quite easy to punish if your jungler is in position to do so. Ignite versus Ignite! And it is Ryle who gets the kill, but trade, of course, for Billy Worth's life there as well. Dragon was picked up for Arcana, and that was actually the first kill for Astrocats.
Yeah, not sure if that one was Worth or Billy Worth. I think both teams, I guess, happy with the gold they got there, but Ryle with reckless aggression in some ways there, as it looks like this will be another kill here for the Astrocats. Fiku trying to make it too as Muramina gets it going with the Ornn Horn. But Aquatic popping the ulti and walking away slowly, and there's just nothing left to stop the croc.
I have watched this top lane matchup, this exact top lane matchup, so many times in CBLOL. This is probably like the #1 most picked top lane matchup from when I cast CBLOL, is the Renekton picked into Ornn. Interestingly enough, Renekton was actually picked before the Ornn. That is usually the opposite way, but this time in itself, it is the Renekton coming out slightly on top so far. Fiku does have Flash plus E, but in that Shockwave, you cannot use either one. Really nice setup there from Arcana, bringing 3 members to just collapse on Fiku. She thought that she could invade. It was just at the wrong time, and gets picked off. Really nicely done by Arcana.
This is a 1v2! What is Ryle doing? He just keeps going. Now Shirley's finally here, and the fight's just going to start. I mean, you're level 5, you're Zyra, you have no flash, you're getting ignited, you're just going to get killed. I can't believe this. Ryle just playing with her food. Taking out the 2v2 again.
I think it's so funny that every single time Ryle and Shirley are dropping both their secondary summoner spells onto Billy Worth. You have not seen the exhaust onto Abra yet. It's always exhaust plus ignite onto Billy Worth, and she has been dead every single time. Zyra is the damage there in this matchup, apparently.
I mean, that's honestly true.
Oh!
Good arrow into the grounding.
Bye-bye. If
Like
Ayuka
bye-bye
survives
indeed.
this, I would be impressed. And I
Good
am,
flash.
in fact, impressed. Good flash, yes.
necessary, but good flash there. Nice setup as well. The long-range arrow into the grounding there for Fairy Girl, trying to find something, but didn't have it, as I'm still amazed what's happening in this bottom side of the map. But you're right, Zarya is the damage threat, right? Yeah, in that, and she's also, I mean, this is really showcasing probably the #1 weakness of Zarya. She's very good at killing you, but also very easy to kill. And I think Arcana are like exploiting that fact as much as they can in this 2v2.
Arcana picking up the first dragon right into the first Rift Herald here of game number 2. Have a pretty massive, almost 4,000 gold lead over the Astrocats at 10 minutes into this game as well. This is a very different side of both of these teams than we have seen in previous games. I think last game especially was a pretty even match, and now Arcana are definitely running away with it in the first 10 minutes of this game. Ryle, reminder, that was a 1v3 right there, and she just walked away, really not even batting an eye.
Yeah, just dodging out all the bits of pressure, positioning the wind wall, making sure Zarya skill shots don't tag her. Very impressive stuff. I'm not sure how much experience she has on Yasuo bottom lane, but this is not... I would be shocked if this was her first Yasuo game. Let me just put it that way. Clearly understands what's going on here. And oh goodness. Last breath, the level 6s have finally arrived, and Billy Worth, who's still level 5, by the way, explodes again.
I mean, she's just too clean with it, right? Like, they landed all of the abilities at the same time. That's what you pick this bot lane to do, and if that's what you can do at level 6 and level 7, that is how you win this game. Avril as well, forced to ghost away from her own tower. That is how much danger and how much pressure Arcana are able to put on the bot lane.
MP didn't make it over the wall. Maybe intentionally not. Yeah, over we go. Looking to maybe find a setup for a gank here, but no wave. Probably means that that's not going to happen. Solo kill in mid lane, though. Fairy Girl flexing again in mid lane here.
That is the second kill for Astrocats in 10 minutes, Pastry. This is a rough early game for them. Sitting at, once again, about 4,000 gold down. Arcana just constantly able to increase, grow, however you want to say it, their gold lead. Anything that they can do. They've got 1 minute left for this second dragon, and Infernal Dragon as well, if Arcana can pick it up.
Still signs of life though, and I think a player like Fairy Girl getting some confidence, getting a kill there in mid lane, a solo kill nonetheless, is a step in the right direction here. Obviously the gold lead itself still a little out of control, especially given how early we are in this game. And if you thought it was getting tricky earlier in the bottom side of the rift, I will direct your eyes down to the scoreboard, where Ryle has finished the first mythic item, not in the game, because MP already has one, but the second, and certainly an expensive one, with Kraken Slayer already done. As Ayakura doesn't have ulti, that was definitely an angle for a potential solo there, but Fairy Girl understanding what's going on, I think, and we'll be alright for now.
Once again, very similar to game 1, this is an extremely skill-expressive mid-lane matchup. Orianna versus Cassiopeia, right? And we just haven't gotten to see it at all. Bot lane is so explosive if Ryle is
diving
there. And you got a 2v2 dive and a 2v1 dive now if you just blow Avril up. Billy Worth running around, does have that flash to buy some extra time, but that Ignite is taken down, and the plants will not be able to keep you alive for long enough. If Ryle is there to take you down, will end up being the shutdown picked up by Billy Worth, but you got another pick on the top side here. Aquatic trying to run away, did already burn the flash, plus ult, has some extra help from the tower, but still will not be enough. One more shutdown picked up for Astrocats, and it's still not over. We have another 1v1 here in the mid lane. Fairy Girl taking down Ayukuro, but MP will not let her go untouched. She's got 1 HP, and she's gonna live with that 1 HP.
Beautiful sidestep by Fairy Girl to get barely out of the way of that Sejuani W. Just able to dodge out there. Getting another solo kill, basically, by the way, in the mid lane. That is the shred of hope that Astrocats can currently cling onto, as they do close the gold gap a little bit now. Only down 3,000 gold, but, I mean, whatever is... Ryle and Shirley are just... I mean, they're starting to play with Reckless Abandon, which is either going to be a great thing for Astrocats or something really bad. As we watch this top side play again, Biku committed everything at the end of this play, as it looked like Aquatic was just going to pop Dominus and walk away for the second time this game. Don't pay attention to the kill counter. Other stuff's happening. This is the first part of that we missed. And again, it looks like Aquatic's just out. Ornn doesn't have any more CC. Graves has no CC ever. And Fiku just takes matters into her own hands. Yep. Beautiful little Graves combo. Has to burn the flash, but well worth the gold. As Fairy Girl, arrow again from downtown into the grounding. Ult doesn't kill. Gets out from under. The ulti proccing again, and then this W flash is
Oh,
not quite enough. The
so
smite
close.
also not enough. And Fairy Girl gets away.
All three of those plays in a row in isolation did benefit Astrocats. They have closed the gold lead from, what was it, 4,000 now to just under 3,000. So in isolation, that was all good. But still, Arcana are not walking away with nothing. They picked up a couple of kills in all three of those plays, and they pick up the dragon off of them as well. 2-0 on those dragons. Of course, still a little bit of a gold lead in the favor of Arcana, and we have ourselves a Mountain Soul in this game. I think Mountain Soul is going to be very helpful for our 4 melee team comp that might just pick it up.
Yeah, when your main plan is to run headfirst at the enemy, being tankier is usually a good thing. So, makes sense to me. 2 dragons already for Arcana. We'll see if they can keep on stacking them up. Arcana, sorry, it'll happen. We'll get there. Words are hard. Ayakura
They are.
just picking up the fun here as it gets pushed on through. Again, Fairy Girl, Leandri's done. Is going to be the one to watch here in this mid-game if Astrocats are going to find a spot to try and play through. But it is mostly going to be Arcana in the driving seat. Especially if Ryle is anywhere near a knockoff and near an enemy champion.
That is true. It's so funny for me to just watch Aquatic put one little toe in that bush, see like Piku standing there, and just walk right back away. Exhaust dropped onto Aquatic. Aquatic even does have the dash to get away, but cannot get away from 2 members, and once again does not have that flash available to truly get away with her life, trying to just fight it out and not quite enough damage to be able to make it back to safety. And again, Astrocats have been really, really good at that stack waves into dive with your jungler play on this top side, right? They've done that so many times now to Aquatic that it's a miracle she's sitting anywhere near the same amount of CS as Muramina. We don't see her level right now, but I would bet it's probably lower than Muramina, maybe level 10.
We'll see in 6 seconds just how close you are, but I think that's a pretty easy estimation to make. And I'll believe you. As, yep, level 10, look at that. So smart. I agree. I mean, Astrocats are doing what they can, right? They have to play through somewhere they can find kills with. Ornn obviously can combine with the Graves for a decent amount of CC and damage. Fairy Girl doing good on her own in lots of different situations, but gonna need more than just the odd pick, or at least gonna need the game to stabilize a little bit, right? If you can keep finding picks and not losing too much, maybe Astrocats feel better about the game going forward, but going to be at the mercy of a team that is rapidly snowballing towards the Dragons, and at this point feels pretty unabashed about just picking almost any fight that looks okay. And they've got maybe enough gold and the champions to do it at this point.
The gold lead has definitely been shrinking, though. Astrocats, despite a very, very difficult early game, right? Like, that first 10 minutes, they got 1, maybe 2 kills. And I think both of those kills were on Billyworth as well, so definitely not the member you probably would have preferred. Your only 2 kills of the team to be on. They have definitely closed the gold lead as much as they can, but still every single neutral objective so far has been picked up by the Arcana squad. They are looking to take at least 1 more outer tower here in the next couple of minutes. Exhaust plus ult, and I mean, probably a dead Avril. Yep. Avril used the flash, used the ghost, used everything in her kit to make it alive, but Ryle just simply had more.
The rarely seen Q flash on Yasuo. That is not a very common combination, but Ryle knows the absolute limits of this champion. I am now very curious how many Yasuo games Ryle has in her history as a League player, because very impressive, understanding exactly what to go for there. And unfortunately, again, despite Avril burning everything to get away, when you don't have summoner spells, you're Ashe, and Ashe is very immobile, and that will be punished by the Yasuo that didn't have Infinity Edge before that play.
Yeah!
I get why she flashed now. Now has enough money.
I don't know what she had before, but it was definitely like Kraken Slayer plus Longsword or something similar to that. And now it's Kraken Slayer plus IE plus Longsword. She was already doing that crazy damage before. Now just imagine what kind of damage she can do with a 2.5 item 18-minute Yasuo. Meanwhile, this top lane, most of the series, most of today really has been largely isolated from the rest of maps. Sometimes you see the occasional TP. I think Shyset had 1 TP from Rengar in one of the games earlier, but other than that, the top laners have been largely isolated. Having a good time, having a dance-off.
Yeah, until like a support or jungler comes up there, then it's less fun. But you're all right, it has been very lonely in the top lane 1v1 for all of the day so far. Rift Herald is up there though. Aquatic should be able to escort that one in as Fairy Girl Good flash. Not sure you can get away from the rest of it, though. Ooh. Oh, what a spicy ulti. Perfect angle, but there's still more. Shirley is going to just run on in, got grounded, and just didn't matter. Ran at the Casio for the CC with the quickness, and that's a kill.
I mean, that's about as perfectly as you could play a 1v4, right? Like,
yes.
If Shirley wasn't there standing right behind her, maybe she could have walked it out. She even committed her flash for that and still tried to walk it out with the ult use, of course, but I mean, it's a 1v4. Even underneath her tower, you are probably not going to be very safe. This third dragon started up now by Arcana, though. Vika going a little bit too early for her own good. Just trying to get a steal, but they do not have vision in the dragon pit whatsoever. MP looking to smite it away. They do land the smite just in time, but here comes the Ornhorn, actually canceled by the Yasuo. Win will Shirley just missing that knock barely onto Avril. Would have been certain death for her had it landed. Gotta watch Fairy Girl as well. Walking away, rocking around the long way. But I mean, that was a whole lot of abilities thrown, and absolutely nobody died.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that application for Yasuo Windwall, but if you're curious, it works exactly like Brom Unbreakable does in that situation, where you just destroy the projectile as soon as it hits it. So it is tough to find Ornn ultis when Yasuo is still alive, and it's going to be tough to get stuff done while this 7, 2, and 4 Yasuo is alive as well. Did have ulti. I think Ryle was grounded and couldn't click Last Breath. Not sure she would have wanted to anyway, as MP taken so much damage from these AP champions, but not enough to get a kill. If Astrocats had a little bit more money, we might be having a bit of a different situation. Instead, it's Arcana walking away just barely from that situation.
Where's Fairy Girl's boots? Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Had to do it as Shirley flashes away. Fairy Girl, they're going to get a kill. No boots necessary as VQ grabs the actual credit for the kill. And Avril gets one as well. Is it Baron? It could be Baron here. Astrocats actually maybe found their way back in.
I mean, sure. I was just joking around. I thought nothing was going to happen, and then all of a sudden, Astrocats have turned the table on its head here. Baron started up. Billy Whip does not have enough HP to be standing this close to the Baron, though. Sin very low. FP looking for the steal. They're inside. Gets the steal right under Viku's nose. The Ryle is here for the cleanup as well. Into the double knock. The Fairy Girl nowhere left to run. Easy cleanup double kill picked up there by Ryle, and that is a 4-man Baron. Everyone except for Ayukura picking it up for Arcana.
I mean, you were definitely going to lose at least 1 or 2 people there from attempting that Baron. I do like the Astrocats win for here, but this whole play is insult to injury. This Zyra ult, by the way, really well placed to disrupt the melee champions, and MP just says, yeah, it doesn't matter. Flash in, find the smite. Yes, Yasuo gets knocked up, but there's no one chasing down Ryle, and then from here, you're already going to get some kills. Ryle hits a 2-man NATO, and that's more than enough for her to clean up the rest of these kills as Fairy Girl is going to get stunned up, dash through a plant by Yasuo, very cheeky, out of Ryle to get a little bit of extra distance. And that's 2 kills and the Baron going over.
And once again, the gold lead has surpassed 6,000 in the favor of Arcana. They have 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes really, before their Mountain Soul is on the map. So that does mean they will have the Baron buff active for that soul fight here. Just a few minutes. Vico might not be in a very great position.
Good dodge. Is there more? Oh boy, it's getting spicy in the bounce house. Is that a Shirley going down to Avril? Perhaps a little too far forward, but still, the wallet, the damage, the confidence still all here. They are going to continue falling back. Looks like they might. No, they don't have a dragon to fall back to, so the siege must continue. Or that's just a free kill for the cats.
And a free tower for the cats on the top lane.
Hey!
Objective bounties have spawned up here for Astrocats. I don't think they're that far behind the gold, but objective bounties are here to save the day for them. 1 kill traded, or not 1 kill traded. No, they got a kill and a tower, actually, for the Astrocats. 1.5 minutes left on the soul. This is the timer that you gotta be worried about. Nothing really else to fight for before that soul is up on the map.
Yeah, a little sloppy perhaps there in the bottom half of the rift. Maybe being a bit too eager to find an angle with the Rakan. Does give away a bit of extra gold. Still got some gold to give away though. About 5,000 gold ahead still, despite all that. But the Astrocats, especially with this kind of comp, this is the team that will stay in this game the longer it goes on. So Arcana are gonna have to find some way back into this game. Thankfully for them, as you pointed out, the easy way is just to wait 45 seconds and take them out and solve. And then your life gets a lot easier. But this Baron, despite the heroic steal out of MP and the 2 kills they got on top of it, I feel like the Baron weirdly just hasn't done that much. But it might not matter because I feel like this is a game where we're just playing for soul now.
I definitely think Baron was much more of a you can't have it, haha, type of Baron than a we're actually going to use this type of Baron.
That's true.
Remember, it was also a steal. This was a Baron that
Yeah.
Astrocats started and wanted, and they really did not get to use it at all.
Team
very
fight
clearly.
time.
Team fight time. What is going to happen?
Find out in a mo, as Muramina does pop down with the teleport, but gonna get the mid lane pushing on the other side here. Wanting to make sure they have as much space as possible. Fall down back into Fog and try and bait the cats in. Astrocats have to fight for this dragon. Arcana don't have to. They just want to fight in general. If they get the Baron, they'll be happy. Oh goodness, the dragon is what I meant. But Avril in trouble. And now mid, there's Billyworth. Actually gets the kill back onto Ayakura. Astrocats maybe actually finding some fight here. Muramina, they're going to take out Shirley and the cats. Just don't have enough health to play with, or do they? They actually find the root. It's Billyworth finding every single skill shot on the Rift. Viku finds the shutdown. They kill the Yasuo and they prevent the soul from going down. Cam, I think they found the way in.
They did it! Astrocats are not going out without a fight. Absolutely. They're going to pick up so much gold off of not only champion bounties, but also the objective bounties. One off the tower, one off the dragon, and probably another one off of the second tower as well. You mentioned it was all Billyworth landing abilities. Really, everybody on the Astrocat side landed everything that they possibly needed to. That initial flash wave from Avril, the fact that she didn't die and was able to output as much damage as possible on the AD carry is, I think, truly a massive impact on the fact that they were able to win this fight. Also, Arcana were not in a super good position, like on the Rift. They were not front to back, which is what their team comp really does shine in. So if you get picked back to front, then you don't really have as much damage as Ryle and Shirley are typically able to put out. One dragon now picked up for the Astrocats. Does look like they were only able to pick up that mid outer turret on top of that, and objective bounties have fallen off after it as well, as they have closed the gold lead and completely almost bringing it into their favor.
Yeah, I mean, this game's even as far as I'm concerned. Less than 1,000 gold between the two teams. Astrocats are certainly comfy with the team as the game goes later on, upgrades their items. Cassio gets more items, looking for those shoes. Even Avril gonna eventually do some damage, as she still builds AD carry items, even though Ashe is a champion that we associate with more utility and support than other ADs. Still a marksman at the end of the day. And might be a game that gets away from this team. We'll have to find out. Still plenty of play left, but now it's more even. MP looking to get it going.
Gonna get it going, and there's Zyril to start it all off once again. You gotta watch out for Billyworth, man. Avril will be picked off first, and that is the damage map that you're really trying to worry about. Ryle doing so much work on the back line, surviving for so long as well. Ayukar a little bit late to the party, and now they are completely split up. 1v1 and 1v1 is not the strengths that Arcana really wants to play for. Ayukar will be the only member to walk it out safely, and that is now 2 massive team fight wins for the Astrocats. They pick off a dragon off the last one, and this one, they're going to be able to take a Baron.
Really impressive stuff here out of the Astrocats. Pulling back a game that looked kind of over at certain points. I mean, obviously there was still play, but 5,000-6,000 gold ahead for one point for Arcana. It just felt like there was not much left. The Baron got stolen, all hope was dashed, and they've just played to their strengths, played to their comp. Knew they had to scale, wanted to find some fights, managed to pick apart the enemy team who was maybe being a little too eager to get the game over and done with. And now this seems like a really tricky game to win, because every single time you have to try and find a fight, even if you block the on ulti with the Yasper Windwall, which is like probably the best value you can get out of that. You still have this Graves to deal with, who's got 3 damage items. You have this Cassio to deal with, has 3 damage items in his building mode. You have this Ashe and this Zyra to deal with. Like, the amount of threat and damage and control that Astrocats have in this team, that's filthy.
No.
That's absolutely dirty out of Avril, whose accuracy on Ashe Iris has been absolutely stellar, I must add.
Yeah, for real. I think Avril may have single-handedly turned the mid lane matchup, right? Like, I think he landed like 2 or 3 crucial arrows onto Ayukura at the correct moments, and those kind of secured enough of a lead for Fairy Girl to be able to turn the lane around. And that is really what you do pick Ashe as a champion to do in those scenarios. And now the gold lead has completely flipped on its head. Previously 6,000 in the lead of Arcana, now 3,000 in the lead of the Astrocats. We've got 90 seconds left on our second Soul fight. If it goes anything similar to the previous 2 fights, Astrocats are just coming out on top every single time.
Of note, if Arcana can get their way into the dragon, even if they have to throw the jungler away, not the worst trade you can make, given that you're the only team that can currently win the souls. So they're going to have to fight for it. They're going to have to make sure they take it cleanly, but Aquatic is in trouble. On ulti, should be able to find this one. Dodges back straight into it. Basically had to guess there on the angle. On was going to redo the ulti on, and that's another kill for Fairy Girl here. 7, 2, and 3 on the Cassio. Might have been a little rough in the earlier stages of the game, maybe been a bit quieter at certain points, but certainly taking over the mid to late stages here for Astrocats as they've rallied as a team to get this game back to this point and get themselves ahead.
Now, Astrocats did burn a couple of important summoner spells, though, that being 2 ultimates for that pick on the top lane. Aquatic saved absolutely everything and will, in fact, be alive for this Baron fight, but is not alive for the fight right now.
Shirley bouncing around. Again, not a fight they really want to pick, but Viku already dominating, taking out the support. Fairy Girl is going to TP on in. Again, there's just nothing left here. The battle lines were not drawn correctly. Astrocats are just picking people up everywhere they can, and Ryle's going to spin around and make it look nice. But at the end of the day, it's an ace for the Astrocats, and that may very well be game.
That could be game. They have Baron for 27 more seconds, and that might just be enough. Their only member left remaining was Aquatic. She was down for like 0.5 seconds. That was where the ace came from, but she is still alive, and I don't know. Maybe she's trying to clear a wave. I'm not sure what's happening, but I mean, Astrocats have run away with a very small lead that they found in this game too, and they will run away with the series tied up. This is a best of 2, and Astrocats take their second best of 2, 1-1.
Nicely done. A little bit of Baron left to finish off the game, and the Astrocats make the comeback and find their way tying up the series, not letting any other team go undefeated. They were the only ones at any point in this event that were undefeated, and now everyone has at least 1 win on the board. Really impressive, and I think the kind of game that the team and especially the coaches will be happy with, because I think winning games where you're like, you get ahead normally and you snowball cleanly is like, okay, cool, like that's like you doing your job, right? Like you implemented your game plan cleanly, you managed to win because you had a lead, and great job. Winning a game like that, where you have to show a bit more resilience, a bit more grit, some comebacks, some good decision making, you have to exploit your opponent's mistakes when they make them, you have to recognize them. That's a really big confidence booster for this team, and a very impressive comeback win for the Astrocats. Again, at 5,000-6,000 gold with a 7-kill Yasuo, I was ready to write the game off, and thankfully for the Astrocats, I was wrong.
And something that is also a lot harder to measure and a lot harder to coach is the mental of these players. When you are down 8,000 gold, it feels like the game is done, right? Like, it feels very, very difficult to do anything from that point in the game. And we got to see that from both of these teams in this last game, is what kind of mental do you have when you're ahead and what kind of mental do you have when you are behind? And that is, once again, another reason we are here in Game Changers, another reason that we are all trying to learn more about this game, learn more about ourselves, learn more about how we can operate in a team, especially if people are tilted. Like, I'm guessing there were probably people tilted in that game when we were sitting 8,000 gold down, and if you can come back even from being tilted, even from being that much down, that's a really good sign for the future series here for both of these teams.
Absolutely. Also nice to see that the old standby of like, just pick team fight and play a bit more slowly still is a thing that resets any series. Obviously, like a very different tack for the Astrocats. Kind of knew that there was a risk with this kind of comp that you were going to fall behind, right? And potentially be in the situation they were in. Probably not as bad as it was, but be in that kind of situation where you have to play a bit from behind, trust in your scaling, play a bit more slowly, definitely play a different style of comp than the wins we'd seen from earlier in the day. And to their credit, like going from Camille to On for Miramina looked very good. This team really just coming together. Nice to see Fiku on a signature champ like Graves, but this definitely was a team-wide win, which I think is a nice thing to see when, again, these have not been teams for very long.
I think absolutely everybody on Astrocats especially got their chance to shine, not only in this series, but all 4 games for today. We do still have, of course, 2 more games with both Arcana and the team from our first series, Serenity, for the 3rd best of 2 for today. But we do have an interview, hopefully being set up for you very shortly, with the jungler for Arcana, being Empy.
Yep, as soon as that's ready, we'll let you know and throw over to the lovely Ashley Kang and Empy. MP, by the way, great series
Yes.
in both games, even though they did lose. Like, very obviously strong presence of mind, understanding of where they're supposed to be and what point of the map. Just again, all the normal good stuff you look from a jungler. MP showed off this entire series, and certainly picking champions where they can be much more effective in that role. Jarvan and Sejuani are the kind of champions where your like good understanding of jungle pathing and where you're supposed to be, combining your CC well with your laners is going to get you very far. And I feel like in many ways this team seems like they're playing through their jungler, even if MP is not the carry directly, right? Ryle certainly has shown she has enough carry potential to go ahead and run away with games. Maybe that game got a little too spicy and needed to tone it back a bit and find a bit more coordination with the team. But again, these are things you can easily coach. These are things you can teach the players, even in the short amount of time they have. And it was nice to see consistently MP getting the game going in the right direction.
And it is funny that you mentioned that because the coach for Arcana, being Summer, did mention that she thinks Ryle could definitely play in LCS. That was one of the specific things that she told me to say was, I think Ryle can play in LCS. And I was like, okay, that will be said today on stream. So this is what it is being said on stream. But yes, MP definitely has much more of a supportive play style. She also played supportive champions. It was Jarvan game 1, right? And then obviously the Sejuani in game 2, both kind of engaged, but definitely much more on the utility and support aspects. It's not the Graves, it's not the Evelynn, it's not the Kha'Zix. But with that, we do get to hear a little bit more from MP themselves.
Thank you, Pastry and Kencom, and I'm Ashley Kang with once again joining by MP, the jungler of the jungler. You just went 1-on-1 against Astrocats. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, obviously that game was like a little rough at the end, but I felt like we played really strong until we kind of let it slip, and they're super good opponents, so I felt like they were good games, and that's what I was most excited for.
Yeah, I think Arcana had like a really good tempo until the Dragon Soul team fight. Can you briefly run me through that team fight from the player's perspective, if that is possible?
Yeah, definitely. So we were trying to like set up a mid control first, because it's super important that we could get shoved, so we could get like first priority into Dragon, because sort of whatever comp like has to run in is a pretty big disadvantage. We just got a little disjointed, I think. With like some of us wanting to like prep like Yasuo stacks on Dragon, and then like we tried to like sort of like flex on the mid a little bit, but we ended up committing a little too heavy, and then that ended up costing us.
You did have a good early game, so what is like the one thing that you want to feedback on before you head into the next series?
I think a lot of what we need to focus on is just like polishing up, like getting more comfortable with each other, and just like, cause I've seen like so much growth like from our first game together, like, so I think we're a great group of people, and I think that like they've been super welcoming and super nice, so I'm super lucky to play with everyone that I'm getting to play with, and I think if we just keep practicing and keep grinding, that we'll get better and better results every time.
Because I do realize that you joined Arcana pretty recently, and of course, as the time and the tournament progresses, you will find more team synergy. Is there any particular fun episode that you might have to share with the fans as you got to get to know with the Arcana, like teammates and the coaching staff?
I was like kind of pretty anxious like at the start, like when I was first meeting everyone, because I was like, I don't know, I'm just like an anxious person in general, but they were like super welcoming, and like, I don't know, like it normally takes me like a while, but we've only scrimmed like a few times together, and like even in like the second and like third games that we were playing, I really felt like I was like completely able to like be myself and like speak up, which is like super rare, and it's like I just have to give so much credit to everyone for like being so nice and like welcoming, and just like really letting me like come into my own.
Yeah, that's lovely to hear. And MP, if that is okay, we also want to learn a bit more about you as a player, as an individual. Like, for example, today you play Sejuani and Jarvan, which are like mostly activating, team fighting junglers, but overall, what kind of jungler in terms of playstyle would you describe yourself as?
So yeah, it like doesn't really show because obviously I play like Jarvan and Sedge, but like I love playing champions like Kha'Zix, Nidalee, like Kayn, like I don't know, I love like beating people and like feeling like it's because I'm like better than them, you know? Like that's so much fun. But like
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot better with like not like just being a complete ego player and like I'm perfectly happy playing like the Sejuani, you know, and just like enabling because like I'm with so many talented people, it would just be like a waste if I tried to like shine every game, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. And there are so many different, like, great professional junglers out there, and they all have different playstyles, you know. And I recently went through your Twitter, and I know that you mentioned Ona in one of your tweets. Is there like a, doesn't it have to be Ona? Is there like a particular professional jungler that you look up to or consider like a role model?
So probably like my favorite pro player of all time is the Odd One. The Odd One was like super, I think, like impactful for me when I was like growing up, especially like playing League, like all like the Bay life and like stuff like that, like because I'm from the Bay as well, so
Ah.
like I don't know, like I'm a huge like the Odd One fan, and I always have been, and obviously like seeing young players like Owner and stuff has been super amazing because they're just like so mechanically like talented, it's insane. Yeah, so but definitely the Odd One's my favorite.
Okay. So you mentioned Odd One and kind of being inspired by him. You mentioned that you like to play, you know, mechanically high ceiling champions, but also work like, you know, be really motivating yourself to also become like a team fight, like, you know, team fight, team oriented jungler. What kind of player or jungler do you see yourself being in, let's say, like, you know, in 1 year or let's say even 3 years?
I think I really want to like be someone that like holistically understands the game because I don't know, like that's like I like to like queue fill and solo queue, like I don't know, like I want to be able to like see a champion and like be able to understand like what it wants to do like from any position, and obviously that's like a lofty goal, you know, and like not completely realistic, but I think yeah, I just want to be like as well rounded as I can and just like try to know as much about as many different things as possible.
Okay, that sounds great. That's your in-game goal. But in terms of like, as a player and as an individual, what is the one thing that you want to take away from this tournament, the Game Changers?
I think what I want to take away from it, like as a person, is already in like the fairly like short time I've been like participating, it's actually been really like healing for me, I think, because I've like struggled with like my identity a lot as like a person and as a player. So it's been like, I don't want to get like too sappy, but it's been like really it's been like really healing like on a personal level to like really be like, wow, like I'm being known as like a non-binary person, and like people are like respecting that, and like I'm really showing off to the world, so that like that's really like emotional to me.
And showing up to the world is indeed what you are doing, and we will look forward to the rest of your journey. Thank you so much for the interview, MP. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and once again, back to the caster's desk.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and thank you, MP. That was an awesome interview. For me, that is so much about like what this event is about. Yes, like we get to watch League of Legends all day. It's a great time, but really like empowering these people and giving them space to be them is so much about what this is about. That's so cool.
I definitely like directly connect with everything that they're saying. As a non-binary person myself, it's like everything that they said is like, yes, I feel that in my soul. That's why we're here. That's why we're in Game Changers.
That's awesome. It's also hilarious that they mentioned the Odd One as their favorite pro player, who I found out you do not know who that is.
No.
And it makes sense because he was TSM's original jungler, and I think he last played a professional game of League like 10 years ago. So
I would have been in grade school. I was not
there you
playing
go.
this game.
So the fact that MP knows who that is really funny to me. But it makes sense that they're from like the same area, or at least in the same round. But with that, we do have more scheduled because we have one more series to play today. If you like the gameplay you just saw from an interview at MP, I have good news for you. They're going to be playing again. Arcana is going to be up against Serenity for our final best of 2 of the day. Serenity we saw at the top of the day, yet to pick up a win. Perhaps this is the series that they go for it here. Very excited to see these 2 teams at it again. But for now, we are going to go on a break. When we return, we'll have our final best of 2, so don't go too far.